streaming. For anybody who wants to, you know, talk with me verbally, that's perfectly fine. This is a casual thing, so it'll be a little... I think it'd be a little more awkward if we're actually sitting in silence while I talk away. Just making sure it's streaming properly. Yes, it is. What's that, Emil? Only desktop? Oh, no camera. Okay. Well, you can see camera on YouTube, so I'll settle for that. Okay. It's gonna be fun. I wanted to start... You can't hear the squeaking now. We're fostering not fostering, but we're taking care of a dog for Rover, and she's here for the next few hours. It's a daycare sort of situation, and she's a lot of fun, but she has no boundaries. I might need to lock her out. Let me message someone. I think I'll just get her out of her room. Here's this one. She's my girl. This is Luna, if you can see. Okay, come on, Lexi. Let's go. All right. So on the screen here, this is a fun one that when I first started, so I started drawing after I watched Spider-Verse for the first time. I think that came out, I think it was December 25th. It was Christmas Day, 2018. And I watched the movie in theaters like 5 times. It was just really inspiring. Hey, Andy. We got people on YouTube also hanging out too. If you find my Discord links elsewhere, you can also join in the voice chat and talk. But anyway, as I was saying with Spider-Verse, it was just so inspiring that I decided I had to be able to do that. And so looks like, okay, January 28th was my exact starting day, where I decided to first pick up a pencil and just draw something. So there it is. I dated it. So January 29th, 2019, I picked up a sketchbook and a pencil, and I just tried copying a cover that I really liked by Scotty Young. And I'll post this link. There's some descriptions, and I won't necessarily read all of them. But I was really into it those first couple months, where I started tracking my days worked, the amount of hours, the scheduling, and I was proportioning out how much time I would need to get to the fabled 10,000 minutes, or which Jake Parker did a video on. Instead of talking about 10,000 hours, he said focus on getting a micro skill good in 10,000 minutes, and that's a more approachable way to handle skill development. And that really resonated with me, so I started from the ground running with just optimizing strategy. I wanted to be good. I know that I wanted to be working professionally so that one day I could be doing Spider-Verse. Around the same time, it was just kind of like a productivity streak, so I was also tracking like how many days I would have a goal of like drawing every day for the month, or only practicing guitar for half of a month, and then I would track if I did it or not. The darker a color got, the closer it was to completion. So these were just copying drawings. I would sit down for a couple hours and try to copy something, then ink over it. And this was after 2 months. So I had a friend who, we were doing a game jam, and they wanted to make something based off of all the different internet browsers and make a anime internet something game. But yeah, we can fly through this one because the post already exists, and I've done a lot more art since then. But the point of showing this is to show where I started. And so this is me from day one. This is me picking out Andrew Loomis, copying Love Life Drawing, and just taking the lessons that they say to heart. So I found Drawbox. Like, I wasted no time, you know. Like, when I pick up a hobby, it's usually me Googling everything I possibly can of how to get better, what are the communities, what are people saying about this thing in order to be good at it, and that's immediately how I start any new hobby. I did it with guitar, I did it with music production, I did it with racquetball, I did it with working out. How to optimize to get good at the thing that I want to do, because I don't want to be bad. It's kind of the goal. It's always self competition, but thankfully I'm just now starting to come out the other end where it's turning into creativity. But the parts that I wanted to show are things like these gestures during the day challenge, and how all of that is just like you guys, right? I didn't start off amazing. Like, check out this guy's face. Lots and lots of boxes, gestures, and stick figures. If anybody wants to talk while I'm scrolling, or if I can't fill all the space with my voice, feel free to talk. We're in Discord too, so. Oh, what's Andy saying on YouTube? Did I get feedback for each exercise? No. I didn't find a community for about maybe 3 months, but before I posted a couple things on Reddit like I did here. It was me just practicing. I knew what the goal was. I knew what I had to do. Drawbox had very clear lessons, so I just went out and did a lot of it, like everything says to, and trusted in the fact that as I did more, I would get better, because I've experienced that with past hobbies. In past hobbies, it's usually been like with learning trombone or learning guitar. I know that it's going to be sucky in the beginning. And I know that the stuff that I'm struggling with and asking, is this okay? Is this okay? Am I doing this right? I want feedback on my just starting off for the first time and only practiced once thing. That's not how you learn. And getting feedback from people isn't going to help you with every single micro step. What you have to do is go and spend a day with like 20 repetitions, practice a song 20 times, try and record a song, try and get a full song done, and then go and ask, hey, is there something I'm doing wrong? Can play 5 different scales rather than just trying to play a couple notes and asking if that's good, right? These are copied drawings. I was reading some DC comics at the time and picking out images that I liked and then trying to copy them. So yeah, I think none of this was feedback oriented. It was all just myself. I started the 100 head challenge. Look at this guy and this girl. Celestial Crow on Discord saying, my education has been very spotty for a long time. Only recently this year did I start to become more organized. Yeah, not everyone can do what I did, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I'd recommend it unless you're trying to do the same thing that I'm doing, which is fast track, optimize your way to getting hired. Essentially, I knew my end goal was getting hired. It wasn't creativity. But at least a little bit of organization and discipline, just so that you know where you're going the next day. Just so you know what you're practicing. Bye, Gandalus. Nice to have you here. I recognize who this is now. That's a BTS guy. Lots of heads, just drawing them. I knew at the time, if you draw more, you'll get used to it. I was already starting to feel like some of this volume was paying off in some ways. Like I could tell that I was getting accurate at my with my eye. Just not saying that it's amazing or anything, but I could look at a drawing, put it on a piece of paper, and have it at least in the ballpark of what I'm trying to get into. Nell is asking on Discord, at this point was I drawing every day? Yes. Yeah, the schedule that I had in the beginning, I drew every day, and I had been drawing every day for nearly 2 years. And before I started burning out some and kind of having breaks for a month where I didn't really get any deep practice in. Andy's asking when I started to work digitally. I think it wasn't long. I've got that little anime picture at the beginning, so I got an iPad, the little small 9.7 inch on sale $200 iPad. That I received that and immediately just picked up some tutorials and tried to figure out how to get the thing that my friend wanted to see. And so once I did get my iPad, it was really off to the races. Andy's asking how much time a day did I draw? How much did I get done daily? Let's see. It's all here. So this column, 2.5 hours, 3 hours and a quarter, 1 hour on Friday. Sunday, half an hour. This Sunday, February 10, I drew for 6 hours. I don't know what I was doing, but that's what I did. So every day I was almost hitting 2 hours, and this is during work weeks. So I was waking up at 6 a.m. before work, which started at, I had to leave for work at 8:30. So I'd get up at 6 a.m., do breakfast, make breakfast, and I would practice for 2 hours, go to work. I would take my lunch break and practice. When I got home, we'd make dinner, and then I'd say, bye-bye, fiance, I need to go practice in a corner. So, this guy, I don't know why, but I've had this idea of having a cassette face mascot for my radio runner name for such a long time. It's kind of evolved into him having more of an actual radio head, but I thought it'd be cool to go like, I'm going to do that this month as a commemorative 3-year image. I'm going to design and draw a scene with a guy with a radio head with some really cool like jet set sneakers, and he's with a couple other characters that I like Spider-Gwen and they're in a rock band. I want to do that picture. Nell's asking if I intended to have a focus on faces and figure drawing. I don't know. I think just when you start out, everybody's initial inclination is to be able to draw figures because they're the sole focus of the media you watch, right? Backgrounds are backgrounds. You don't really start off thinking, I need to be able to make backgrounds the same way that I saw in Spider-Verse. I just know the feeling that I got from watching it and knowing that if I can draw people, then I can be an artist. So that's where I started. Yeah. Man, a Drawbox texture challenge, that just killed me. I quit for that. Emil's asking, how did I structure my average drawing time sessions during the beginning of my practice? So they know that I mentioned something at some point about doing 250 boxes in parallel. Well, I knew that I had a morning session, a lunch session, and a night session. The morning was a deep learning session, so that's where I would cover a new topic, and that would be if I was learning portraits or if I was going through Proco's YouTube figure course. That's where I learned something new for the day, and if I covered enough of that, maybe I'd switch to Drawbox. But it was morning was deep learning, then the lunch was practice. That was pulling up a gesture session and drawing for 40 minutes and just getting repetition in, trying to keep in mind the lessons that I had watched that morning. And then at the night, I would either pick up another lesson or I would go and implement a different assignment. So like draw a box. I would practice that instead if I practiced figures during the day. These were, I know for a fact, these were all lunch drawings. So I did this at noon at work in the work cafeteria, and I'd go hide in a corner, pull up images, and draw them. Andy's asking on YouTube, at what point did I make my portfolio to get hired? That's a really progressive, iterative process. So, like stuff on my portfolio that's up there is a year old from when I did my first class with Tyler Edlin. That's a year and a half old now. Some of it is from 2 months ago, so once I decide that my skill level is clearly past the stuff I did in Tyler Edlin's class a year and a half ago, I'll wipe it. I might even, like maybe I'll go back and paint over it to keep it in the portfolio. I think there's some value to what I had done. It just wasn't painted well. And I would try that again. Lots of Dropbox. We're in insects now. Still trying to draw people too. So here's like, I'm just now starting to understand contours and going through indicating form by wrapping lines around them. I was proud of this. So let's see, I've got, I wrote in the caption, got off work early, so I stopped at the park on my way home. Yeah. I got off work like 4 hours early, if I remember. It was a beautiful day outside, a little brisk, a little cool. And I went outside and I just tried to draw what I see. Because I kept seeing interviews on Proko's channel about just go outside, just draw what you see. That's one of the best ways to improve. I wouldn't say that myself. Like I definitely didn't know how to put what I saw together in a way that made sense. This is highly compressed. In terms of the actual park itself, which was huge and winding, but it was an hour of drawing of stuff that I was trying to figure out that I didn't know how to do before. Still going through your Dropbox? We're in animals now. I think some of what you guys are seeing here now is that my eye, like critically, my eye being able to see imperfections or that something doesn't match up with an angle to something that I had seen before, improved a lot faster than my hand. And I always kind of knew that I had like a good eye. I'm a bit of a critical person, so like assessing flaws, I've gotten a lot of practice of that through my music history and other hobbies that I've done. So replicating images, replicating photos, of course these are not photoreal, but dialing in and at least getting to this level where I was able to draw a picture and have it look similar. If that doesn't happen for you guys right away, I would say that, I don't know, I've heard from many people that this is abnormal, to progress in accuracy as quickly as I did, from basically never picking up a pencil outside of elementary school to getting a good handle on drawing 6 months in, that sort of thing. But yeah. Hey, it's my dog, Luna. I tried inking her, but that doesn't seem to have turned out very well. Still just practicing Scott Robertson style perspective, drawing more animals. I know that I did this during lunch. And I'll go a little faster through this because we've got a lot to work through digitally. We've got 3 years to cover, and this is 2 months. I do like this last one. I look back on it fondly. This was at our apartment when we first moved to Kansas City. So I had just started my job, and I think I was like 5 months deep into living in Kansas City, and my dog was there. We were at the local dog park on the campus, and I thought, this is really nice. I'd love to draw this. Okay. So, after that point, I started drawing digitally. And let's get that hooked up. If you don't mind, I'm talking a lot, so I'm going to go grab some water. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. The early stuff is not really organized by date, but more of category, so it'll be a lot of... Oh, that almost reminds me. But I can't see it on my... You can't see it on camera. I have a bunch of old post-it notes of things where I would run away during work, and I would take like a bathroom break with double apostrophes, and I would go off with post-it notes, sticky notes, and try to squeeze in like a couple 5-minute gestures. Just drawing anywhere possible. Oh, hey Riley, thanks. This is a cardigan. Riley's saying on Discord, looking dapper in that sweater. I got a few of them that I really like, and I tried to get away from the whole t-shirt thing. So if I have t-shirts, they've got a little bit of a V or this fake collar to them, and then I usually pair them up with an extra layer because of the, like if I try to do anything, I look up rules for it. So I looked up rules of fashion. That's what I found. So here's things like, this was my fiance that I tried drawing in our apartment at the time, just trying to recontextualize my vision onto a canvas. And these were gifts, so like this I traced over a picture of my mother and I, and then tried painting it in myself with a brush, mostly flat colors. It looks like this was a anniversary gift for my wife and I and our dog Luna. This was a comic book that I made as a Father's Day gift to my dad. I tried doing it in the style of Calvin and Hobbes. And then, so other people saw the one that I made for my wife, and they wanted to have one done for themselves as well, which was nice. They were a nice couple. So let's see. During this time while I was drawing too, I wasn't just drawing either. I was also learning UX design, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. It's boring, but I wasn't sure if the art thing was going to work out, because at that point I thought I had a 10-year plan and it was going to take 10 years to get a job or transition out of my career. And I thought, man, what can I do that's faster and would still make money? So I found UX and UI design, and I was practicing things like logos and understanding user metrics and mind maps and user flows for generating a cohesive design experience. So here's like an app with just a basic sketch of what each page would be and how they link to each other, and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of thinking with it. Okay, so if I look for it, going from early stuff, I know this drawing tab has a lot of old things in it. And I was following along with Proko's course. Keep in mind, inside of here, there's usually like multiple drawings per, but I'm not going to dig into each and every one, or else we'll be here for years. But around November of 2019, I had found Modern Day James, and I saw that he had a challenge in his Discord channel of like a 400 gesture challenge. And I thought, oh, excellent. That's a perfect way to get good. So I know at this point I was in like a private Discord community, a couple people pushing each other to stay accountable, practice more. And so I started keeping track of everything I did. Let's see. I found Ryan Woodward's book, Figure Drawing Volume 3. So these are all studies. I know that. And it's an excellent book. Ryan Woodward is just a fantastic artist and genius animator. So I know that he uses a Conti stick, which is like a smooth charcoal. And he gets these really expressive lines that flow from thick and thin. And I would spend quite a bit of time just trying to replicate what he did and visualize or like recontextualize his thought process into my own drawings, which is what I did here. So I was trying to take his idea, which was really based in flow. Like I'm really proud of this whole 400 figure collection. I think it gave me a nice like grounding for style of figuring out where to go for the short term. I tried like replicating a brush pen and no undo. Spider-Man, I love Spider-Man. I promise you guys, by the end of 400 figures, you would probably get pretty good. So like at around 150, I started mannequinizing again, because I had ignored it some a little bit, and I thought, man, if I oh yeah, I did an animation here in the midst of all that. But you start mannequinizing. By the end of 300, 400 figures, you can see my lines tighten up, and I'm starting to get a little more analytical and clinical, trying to indicate structure. And Andrew was asking on Discord if I drew any from imagination. No, this was all reference drawing. So just a ton of reference practice. But check this out, this is pretty nice. By the end of it, I was getting more sophisticated with my shading. I thought this was a clear step up in my mannequinizing at that time. I was practicing foreshortened poses, harder angles, trying to figure out how perspective functions while you're drawing a figure. And then here's the end. So once I went back to 400, I circled back around and I said, could I still do Ryan Woodward's style? Because I deviated from it for the last 200. And so without copying from his book, but just picking up the brush that I had used on it again, I tried replicating his style from memory. And at that point, I think what I really took from it was identifying these long lines of action. And I was using these as curves to figure out like an overarching shape. So see how this line follows down and takes that curve down to the foot? That's how I was assessing my figure drawings from reference. How long would one page take? That would be like one session. So I had to do this in a month, right? So how many figures do you have to get in a day to do that in 30 days? You have to do at least 13, 14. So yeah, I'd say each one was 5 to 7 minutes. In the midst of that, I also had tried going to an actual life drawing session. It cost $5 to participate in. I'm not gonna sit on the nudity for too long. I don't know how YouTube will react. And did I use the same canvas size while sketching on the iPad typically? Yeah, I usually just pick screen size and roll with it. And what size did I feel worked well without making pen marks look muddy? Well, I mean, the screen size one should be good. All of these are, let's see, this, like, that's pretty clean looking, right? That's even lower resolution. Dang it, I hate it when Procreate crashes like that. It freezes. Okay, let's find... That's 1536 by 2048 pixels. And my current screen size is larger than that. So that's a fairly small canvas, I guess. 1920 by 1080. It's higher than 1080p. Can tell you that much. I started, so this is labeled Watt's figure drawing. And I know that was Riley Rhythms at the time. There's all the reference pictures hiding in there. And I was trying to replicate what I was seeing on YouTube. Again, master studies, that sort of thing. Get more accurate, get more refined, level up. At this point, I was taking classes with James, modern day James. And I know that he was, every 2 weeks he had an assignment and we were going through figure anatomy for a while. So I tried getting deeper into my shading, which was successful at some points. Anatomy. So this was anatomy studying with Proco as well. And then applying both of what I was learning on both ends to new drawings. We got Loomis mannequins. We got skeletons. Proco skeletons. That's all Marshall Vandriff right there. This is a session from James's class. Just talking about rotation, basics of the figure, all that good stuff. These are gestures and anatomy studies. I wanted a break, so I tried a little digital thing for a night, and I know this one was from Imagination, so that was really fun. I did that all myself, and I tried drawing like a little Sonic ring. I don't know. I do enjoy some Sonic the Hedgehog. This was Nikolai Lockertson's Schoolism course, and so that was following along with him. I'm not sure why that is where it is, but yeah. There's a bunch of anatomy studies in here, I do know. I play around with the type of brush that I'm using pretty frequently, so you'll see differences in my approach. So here I'm using a charcoal pencil to try and mirror Proco, but here I'm using more of like a marker brush, and then I'm using a round brush again the same way that James does in his YouTube videos. So I'm really just it's me watching someone else and trying to replicate what they're doing as close as possible before I then try it again myself, like here. And that was a 60-minute session. I do wonder if YouTube will pick this stuff up and flag it. I wonder how that'll work. This was fun. I just did this not too long ago with my wife. These were automatic drawing sessions. So this is now. This was something in the last 4 or 5 months of just drawing a shape and then trying to turn it into something. So, see, I would give the pencil to her and she would draw this stupid little blob. And then I say, okay, well, I guess that could be something something. And this was automatic drawing, so putting lines on a paper and then seeing what it turns into, trying to visualize it. It went a lot better than I thought it would. So I think around here is where I can mark the change in my mindset that's happened in the last quarter of a year, which is not being afraid of a canvas and knowing that if I put something on a paper now, I have learned enough and I've refined enough that I can find the drawing out of something bad, which is a valuable skill to have. I think that's a big goal for a lot of people, is to just be able to put something on a canvas and have a drawing. So goal accomplished there. Now it's just making it get better. We got some Drawbox stuff early on. So, okay, they're all layered in with each other. But I've got my constructions, and then I tried following like Drawbox rules on texture, and I even tried shading this one with an airbrush. Oh no. And all that good stuff. These are all things that were in my home, so I was looking at my speaker on my desk, my microphone, and trying to redraw it on a piece of paper. The wheel challenge on Drawbox. Lord. As you can see myself though, I picked some images that had multiple wheels in them, so that one, I could get more in a drawing, and two, so I could practice rotating boxes next to each other. So advice, if you start drawing boxes and you want to get better at actually understanding and using your boxes, start doing multiple things at once. Don't just draw one thing in a picture. The sooner you start to wrestle with the understanding perspective and trying to bring in all that nonsense you see of multiple things on a page and understanding how that works on a horizon line and a perspective grid, it's going to boost your understanding a lot faster. I'll never do this again. this Drawbox Scott Robertson style. I think specifically the Drawbox style emphasizes this even more than Scott Robertson does, to be honest. And it's just stupid. Like, look at this. This is so dumb. Triangulating and doing nonsense like tracing this X so that I can then find the even point here, which I can find the trace of the X here so that I can find the exact center, which is there, and then if I draw a box and I draw that box in perspective, then I can get this perfect circle, and then I can get the depth to it. Like, no. That's not how people draw. That's not how concept artists draw. They would definitely just do this and know that if you add that, it's going to be the same effect. It's so asinine. I get to a degree that it's beneficial in the beginning, and I'm not going to not recommend it to people. But God, like, once you're done with Drawbox, drop it. Leave. Go on. That's why I feel bad for people who stay in the Drawbox community for over a year and redo lessons. They're just hurting themselves. Okay, let's see, hard surface drawing. I know at this time I was also studying just like some foundation tutorials. This was Charles Lynn, drawing boxes in perspective and then theming them around like weird sci-fi jets. I didn't like it though, so I stopped. And more Charles Lynn tutorials, just trying to figure out drawing in perspective. This was Scott Robertson. Celestial Crow was asking, so I would recommend doing these for study and then just dropping it? Well, yeah, like, it's not like you're going to never use that information again, you know? So it becomes refined. You take that information in that really analytical process of working, and that always sits in the back of your head. You just know all of the shortcuts to bypass the nonsense. So I had that realization when I was going through some really old Scott Robertson tutorials. He's got some old Gumroad discs, and look at how he draws a car. Like when he when he drew a car, he drew a ground plane. He found his center line, so he might do that just so that it's perfect, and then from here, he would draw a shape. And he knew that if he followed something up, he can visualize it and get a car form. Pretty easily. So he even doesn't draw the way that Drawbox forces you to draw and seems like it wants you to draw that way forever. Scott Robertson definitely doesn't just work that way. And of course, Scott Robertson is a hard surface designer, an industrial designer. He operates this way. He operates quickly, though, and he can get a lot of unique designs out of it, rather than painstakingly measuring the exact placement of each button. Yeah. I was doing mech studies at the time. Let's see. How much do I have here? Okay. Nell's asking, at this point I was mostly drawing digital or still drawing traditional. I think it was back and forth. Like if I went to work, I was drawing on my post-it notes, but when I got home, it was all digital. Yeah. I went through 2 sketchbooks, and then it was all iPad all day. Oh yeah, understanding and painting the head. So here's all my head trials and tribulations early on. This was Marco Bucci studying, Proco studying. So look right there, that's like 50 noses in a week or so, in a couple days. Cheek and the brow. The brow. Like you can see how refinement grows over time. When you're studying, you don't necessarily understand how to use your line weight, and you're focusing more on just getting your information down. Like I've got really heavy lines all over here. I wouldn't do that now, but that's not to say that it's not beneficial for you to learn and know where those lines are while you're doing it. You'll build that understanding and that refinement. That was one of my first independent grayscale studies. This was a study with Marco Bucci's head course, so I just tried replicating what he did. At this point, I'd say like perspective understanding, while it's not fully solid because I can see like I've got some wonk here, and my convergence is not going in the proper direction. My form understanding has built up at this point, and I think this is like from 3 months in at the bottom to 6 months in the middle, and then here's some more towards the end of the year. So like first self-portrait 2019. Doing a head study with modern day James. Skull studies, I did a lot of skulls here. Let's see. Taking a master painting and just assessing all of the skulls. I know I've got some... all from imagination, baby. So I did a bunch of refined skull studies from, I believe, Scott Eaton's Skull Anatomy course, Head Anatomy, and turned into that. Andrew's asking, at this point, did I know that I wanted to specialize more in backgrounds and environments? wondering because I invested, me personally, a lot of time into figures and faces. Um, I was just doing everything that I thought that I needed to do at the time. I picked up environments I did a after I made my curriculum, which was around November of 2019, I believe. Um, I had posted on Reddit, and I also posted my progress. And at that point, a person reached out to me. What was his name? I feel so bad. Nope, I remember it. Josh Talbot. Great guy, professional. I think he has one tutorial on maybe it's not maybe it's not Josh actually. Nope. Oh boy, showing you my email. I'll take this off page. Jeffrey Talbot. Yeah, that's who it was. So I was talking with Jeff Talbot, who went to Brainstorm multiple times, and he voiced it as a big reason for why he was successful. He got hired at Gunfire Games very quickly after like 3 or 4 years of learning from an art school, and we emailed back and forth, and he was giving me general advice and how to harness my learning into a productive way to get into the industry. So here he is. I've got to reach out to Jeff sometime soon. Yeah, so Jeff has worked on this game, Remnant from the Ashes. He does prop and creature design. Yeah, so he reached out to me on his own accord on Reddit and he helped guide me and said, okay, at this point, like, you need to rein in what you want to do and focus on like where you're going with all of this. And so he asked, like, if you made a choice, what would you go into? And I said, well, I don't really know. I practice everything. I want to be good at everything. I just want to be a good artist. And he said, well, that's not how the industry works, yada yada. He told me a lot of good information. And I had also seen Trent Kanyuga's video from 2 years ago about all the other art jobs, is something along that title, where he talks about it's not just character designer. There's environments, there's props, there's icon design. And when he said that it was easier to get in on those because of the sheer competition in character design, I was like, oh, okay, let's refocus. Let's shift. August of 2019, I got a lot of digital art practice from going through Austin Batchelor's Adventurer's Guide for Dragons. Let's pull that up now. If it's not $10, you're getting scammed, but I'll link it here anyway. Okay, $15. It's decent. He's got a crap ton of follow along with me tutorials, and I'm sure he's making a killing. Like, I need to do this. But each one is an hour-long follow-along tutorial of just watching him draw, color, and light it. So I did that 9 times or 10 times. And so you can see this was my first personal painting of trying to draw a dragon myself, and I spent a full day on it. Let's see this. I wonder if it'll show us, because this came from my old iPad. 3 hours and 10 minutes to make this. And so then I started picking up Austin Batchelor's stuff and just trying to mirror how he worked. I would spend the first half of my day just getting the drawing done, and then the second half of the day lighting it. So I learned a bit about process, I learned a bit about digital techniques, and how to go about painting something effectively while keeping your detail. So that was all very beneficial early on. And I got drawing practice, drawing things that were harder and more unique than the stuff that I was practicing at the time. So I would say it was beneficial. And this was from imagination, so I had no reference other than just trying to draw something. And then this one, I saw a little reference on Pinterest and tried drawing it. Yeah. On YouTube, Kitsuyomi is saying, "This is exactly what me and my friend are struggling with. We're in our second year of animation school and don't know what we should prepare for to break into the industry." Hey Kitsuyomi, thanks for joining along. If you want to, if you find my other YouTube videos, you can find a Discord link and you can talk to me more directly about that sort of thing. But it's to prepare to break into the industry is going to come from fundamentals. Just that's all I would really have to say. If you're in your second year, is really get a grasp on making work that is as solid, and you can rotate and you can draw and you can manipulate and distort in perspective figures and stuff. Get that super solid, because everything else comes with it. You can design and stylize whatever you want after that. Here are perspective studies from Marcos Matu Mestre's book, so I was just reading his book and drawing it. Same here. I know there's another one in here. No, there's not. And then, so after receiving Jeff Talbot's advice after our long email stint together, I said, okay, environments. I need to do environments, but I did not know how to go about doing it. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there is like a distinct lack of environment information for beginners to bridge that gap from beginner to intermediate on YouTube. It's like pay $800 or more, or go to art school, or figure it out yourself. It was kind of like what it felt like at the time. I think we have been blessed with more since then, but 2 years ago it was difficult. Bye, Celestial. Thanks for hanging out. And so what I was doing was just drawing things. These were all League of Legends images, and just trying to redo them myself. Like, how did they do a scene? How did they do an image? This was my first independent image, so I took a couple references, mashed them together into one scene, and called it my own. Which I guess is kind of what you do as a professional too. You just do it better. This too. So I was proud of this. Like, this was the most detailed line work I had done at the time. I don't know if I can even find just where the lines are anymore. Okay. Yeah, this one was cool. I liked this. I spent a lot of time on it. 8 hours. 8 hours to do this. So I got all those drawings in. I had some references pulled up of like dense cyberpunk environments, and I was trying to do the same things that they were doing. There are choices that I would make differently now, and I could paint this a lot better now today. But at the time, that was a big deal. Same, I just wanted to practice doing a cyberpunk thing. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a good project of sequential storytelling, of taking the similar characters, moving them across a scene in a similar theme, and then trying to get it all to work together. This is a Foundation John Park tutorial. Same here, but this was all actually from imagination, so I just drew buildings. Oh, okay, so Matthias, my buddy Matthias in our environment class, is asking, so I'm trying to focus on environment concept art. What would be your advice to get better and get into the industry? Hey, buddy. So, well, you're doing all the right things right now. You know, like you're studying environment sketching with me, and that sort of volume is going to really pay off. Once you get past that, like it becomes like you're going to want to get good at everything, but make sure that you start doing your grayscale studies like I had done here, and just understanding how value grouping works, which you should have covered in Kenny's class already, so you know and understand that. After that, it's refining, right? It's doing more of it. It's getting better at it. It's architecture, design, and studies. It's keyframes. It's cinematic storytelling. It's sequential storytelling. Um, Starting to define and refine style. Like if you need to know where you want to go. Are you going more realistic? Then if you are, like get into 3D and start learning photo bashing, because that that is a minimum requirement in that part of the field. If you're going stylized, then start keeping stylistic references as your inspiration. Even if it takes a long time, like it has with me, I still draw semi-real, realistic proportions. It will rub off in your work eventually. Um, oh, CC on YouTube is saying, "Hi, it's really cool to see your process. 3 years is a very small amount of time to improve this much. It's impressive. Thank you." I did it all part time, so I'd go to work full time for 9 hours, and go home and practice this by myself, self guided. Um, hey, how you doing, Ellie?
Pretty good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well myself. Is everything going okay with your pet?
Yeah, yeah. It was sorted out. Like honestly, I was like on the phone for like an hour, and she kept reading out like the terms and conditions and stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, stop! Like, but it's all good.
Good. I'm glad. It's, we.
Yeah.
I'm still in the first year.
Damn.
So, for anyone who doesn't know who's talking, this is it's Ellie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Good. I'm glad I got it. She's active in Antonio's ArtWatch server, and a nice friend. So I
I
was.
thought so. I recognized the voice. I was like, oh, I know this voice. It's from Upward.
Yeah. I'm in there a lot.
I was gonna answer somebody on YouTube. So CC was saying on YouTube, I'm in year 2 of learning concept art, currently at New Edge School. The whole dang, that's dropping a bomb right there. And now I'm trying to get personal projects going to move into a specialization. Well, thanks for watching. It's like I feel kind of honored that you're even saying that sort of thing while being here. Uh, New Edge is no joke. I've got a buddy who's trying to get into New Edge right now. He lives in France, and it's. I think picking a specialization can be hard. It'll become more clear as you learn more things. Like people, Andrew was asking, like I did a lot of character design early on. Yeah, I mean that's one. I do want to be good at it. I want to be able to implement it into my own work. But two, practicing these vehicle drawings, these tight vehicle drawings in construction, and trying to design myself. And then environments and doing creatures right now. I've been doing that in the last month. And all of that gives you an idea of what you enjoy doing, what you excel at. And just trying to figure out everything will allow for you to kind of say, that part I don't care about as much. That part, that's okay, but this part is cool. So if you don't have a clear idea in mind, I would recommend doing everything until you naturally stop doing some of it. Is kind of the best advice I can give there. This was a unique sci-fi design. So what I was showing here were a bunch of Scott Robertson style studies.
I was
And
literally about to say that looks like Scott Robertson stuff.
yeah, yeah. So I was definitely trying to get those as tight as I could. And I studied some Scott Robertson airplane stuff. And yeah, we're just going through the whole stuff. There's a Go ahead.
Your early gesture drawings and what you can do now.
Yeah, I did have it pulled up earlier. I'll just bring it up briefly since I had done it already. But let's see if I go back enough. Here we go. This was month 1, year 1 of drawing for the first time. And by the end of that, I had started doing, let's see, the head challenge. This was all in the span of 2 months. These were 2-minute, 5-minute drawings. And that was like 1 full night spent on this drawing here. A lot of copying and studying, replication, scratchy lines, doubling up on lines a lot. And that eventually turned into the 400 gesture challenge that I showed people. And now I guess today the best work that I'd have to show of what I can do would be like this. So this was all from imagination with style guides from people like Nicholas Cole or Nicola Saviori.
He's great. I love Nicholas Cole.
Yeah, and Nicola Saviori too. He was a big inspiration on this image, but the pose and the creature and all of that itself was my own. So that's what we've gotten in 3 years.
Nice. You've improved a lot actually, especially if you're like keyframes, if that's what you call them, or like environment stuff. This stuff's gotten really good with that.
Oh, thank you. It's I can show you where that started too, which was all self-guided study. Noah Bradley has a thing on YouTube of like just doing grayscale studies, which is a lot of what this was me drawing. These were Sparf and Jason Shire.
You know
then,
what? They aren't bad at all for a beginner or like someone learning. Like they're pretty good actually.
Here's first grayscale stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad at all. You know, for someone like who was learning, that's not terrible.
I think at a minimum.
True.
Yeah, I think at a minimum, like I remember when I first posted like my first 3 months and my first full year of progress on Reddit, people got mad at me for false advertising, basically. Like they said that sort of progress is unrealistic to be advertising to other people and trying to sell a product with the curriculum, and that they basically didn't believe that I had gotten to the level I had as short as I had, which is funny because like I would still consider this stuff firmly in beginner world. But what I've come to start doing as a deflexive, like a defense mechanism, is just to say like, guys, I think like my eye was just always pretty good at the beginning. My hand hadn't caught up, and a lot of my volume is just catching up to my eye. But even early on, I think you've heard people talk about how practicing and doing work is so that you can reach your taste. I think my taste and me being able to assess accuracy was very strong even early on, and that has attributed to the speed of the development. On YouTube, so Cece was replying about New Edge. She's saying, yeah, New Edge is a great school for sure, so hopefully your friend will make it in. And honestly, it's easier to get in than people would assume. They made it in on quite a rough level. Well, that is an interesting tidbit. If I could move to, it's France, right? If I could move to France and just say peace out to my wife and our 2 dogs for 2 years, sign me up. but that'll never happen.
Would you rather go to FZD or the New Edge?
New Edge, like it's not even a question. New Edge is so unbelievably good. Like the people, let's look them up. You guys have to see the kind of talent that is teaching at New Edge. Kitsuyomi on YouTube is also asking, this is a hot topic, but do you have any countermeasures when you deal with burnout? been doing so many studies for years and practicing for so long must have, me doing so many studies must have made me hit a lot of walls along the way. And you are absolutely right. It's about once a year I have a 1 month burnout where I just don't draw. As everything kind of just shuts down, I get really tired of it. I start panicking about my progress along the way and thinking that I'm not seeing the progress that I need to. I'm not getting where I need to be in order to get a job. A lot of pressure balancing it with my day job at the time. But yeah, it happens. So here's just a lineup and some of the student work that comes out of New Edge. The thing about Fengzhou School is they teach you how to be a cog in the machine. They teach you how to be a robot. They teach you a pipeline process using 3D, drawing on top, having basic sketching skills so that you can start with an idea, put it into 3D, and then draw over it. So everyone who comes out of Fengzhou School looks extremely identifiable and lacks a ton of stylistic intent. Whether
Yeah,
that
I've noticed that. Like, it's like they all produce the same kind of artist. Like, all the work looks the same, essentially. There's no personality in it.
Yes, and you can. It's not even me saying, "Oh, I want things to look like Spider-Verse and Klaus." It's like Eitan has a very identifiable, realistic aesthetic. Jama Jurabev, like, just look at this lineup again. Finian McManus is teaching here. Like,
Gee, what? He's teaching there? What the?
yeah.
Wow.
Jordan Tuffin just signed up to work to teach here. Greg Danton, Jamie Rowe, Jens Klassens, several of the people who worked on Spider-Verse, Wouter Gort.
How do you get in? Like, how would you even get into a school like that? I'm assuming it's very expensive too.
Yeah, I don't know. Bastien Grivet, one of the Spider-Verse leads. Like, it's Daynar Warrior. Like, come on. It's unbelievable. The instructors and the sheer experience that you would get exposed to here is unbelievable. I don't know how you'd get in. I thought it sounded difficult. Man, Jad Saber teaches also. I thought it sounded difficult. According to Antoine, my friend who's currently trying to get in, he said that he felt that there was a baseline skill level that he had to operate at in order to pass the entrance exam, if there is one. If I'm talking out of my butt. I don't actually know all the requirements. But
I live in France, so I'm really excited, and I'm wondering how hard it is to get there.
yeah, if you live in France, definitely make this a goal. Like, CC's saying, I gotta warn you guys, those teachers only come to teach for 2 weeks. Oh, okay. So we have different teachers every other week. Oh, so that's why the lineup is so big. Okay. Because this really is just a who's who of every single art god in the industry. Like, I'm looking at this again, Jessica Rossier, and like, come on.
I was actually looking at that school the other day. Hi, by the way.
Hey.
And I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, I finally found a school I was gonna apply to." And then I emailed them, and they said they only, like, not for the concept art program, but for their other programs. It's in French.
Mm-hmm. So you have to know
such
French.
A bummer, because I was so looking forward to it. But one day maybe I'll get the skills up to join the concept art program.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Yeah, maybe one day we'll just be pro enough to teach there. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
I wish
That'd
I
be
spoke
sick.
French now.
What was that, Ellie?
I wish I speak French now. Like,
Oh, I know. Okay, CC's saying on YouTube, this is so fun. The entrance exam was hard for me, I gotta admit. So you have to do prop design, character design, and a keyframe in 2 weeks based on a brief. Okay, so it sounds like they want to see your skill level as a generalist concept artist. You need to deliver on every single aspect, and presumably they need to see some potential in you to train you up and foster you into the next art god.
So I guess it means you need fundamentals, but also design skills.
Yeah, you need a baseline of design skills to be a rudimentary concept artist at that point. At least an intermediate level, I think, to get into that school. CC saying, I swear, guys, we are not all gods in the concept art program. It's like, okay, I don't know. I'm just going off of the stuff that they're posting. Like this girl, Kiara, she's at New Edge right now. And, like, I don't know. Yeah, you telling me that you're not all art gods? This is just her automatic drawing? Like, this is how she...
Like, oh, it's just a quick doodle. And it's... Oh my god. A quick doodle?
Yeah, this is what she does in her spare time while she's killing herself with the other lessons.
This is great. This is just great.
Like, Leah Pinto taught there. So she was another Spider-Verse designer. So you had a Spider-Verse class, essentially, is what I'm seeing. I've seen on Leah Pinto's ArtStation the artwork that she made while she had taught there. And it's like, God, I'm jealous. Sitting with Bastien Grivet and Leah Pinto. So, yeah, so she's been at New Edge for like a year or two now. And, okay. CC. It's like, she's my classmate. She's crazy good indeed. I'm not as good, far from it. Well, I'm just gonna say that you're being humble, and if you'd like to hop into the Discord and drop a link to all your socials, because I'd love to see it. Oh, CC saying they take a variety of people.
For you, Alex, you might know, and you other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking into a school because I'm so sick of only being able to draw for like a certain amount of hours, like having to work.
Yeah.
And I don't really have any responsibility, so I could go into a school, but like I haven't found the proper fit, because like we have one school that's okay here in Sweden, but they mostly focus on game art. It's not so much like concept art and illustration.
It's 3D kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like a lot of 3D, and I'm looking more into, like, I'm interested in the painting area. So I don't know if you have any like tips on locations or schools and stuff has a valid price to them, not like a FZD school, which is crazy expensive.
It's I would recommend all of the online schools. That's where the future is, and that's where a lot of investment is happening. I'm sure you know. Yeah, I'm sure you know CGMA, CG Master Academy, but Brainstorm has been it's been a key aspect of the reason where I am today, because of the way they set up their lectures. It's 3-hour sessions with an instructor with maybe 15 other people. So you're talking directly with them in a Zoom call. You see each other's face and you get to know each other for 2.5 months. Because of this, I have direct connections with like 4 professionals in the industry. And, you know, we're in Discord still, even after the class. And they have that community with their ex-students, and because of that, some of the other students have connected me with the jobs that I have now. The animation job that I have. And schoolism, of course, Kitsuyomi just brought up. So schoolism is not just self-guided classes. You can also take the actual full feedback with the course, $800. And that seems to be the general price that is going for online education now, where every 8-week class or 10-week class is somewhere between $600 and $800. Workshop Academy, I haven't been to it, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but like Josh Cow teaches here, and Mark Castanon teaches here, so that's extra availability if his class fills up at Brainstorm. And Zach Lee, I've seen Devin Katie Lee teach here at the Workshop Academy. He's a fantastic character designer that I follow pretty closely. And so that's one option. Let's see, who's Ango Vamango? She's got her own school now.
Have you ever had classes with Sin Studio online?
I know someone who goes there, yes, and I also know someone who has been to CG Spectrum. So CG Spectrum, I don't know if it's online only, but this one is like you start here and they develop you for a full course path. So like if you pick the digital painting one, let's see, it's a collection of courses that, look at this, takes 3 months, takes 9 months, takes 9 months, takes 9 months. So it's going to take you from intermediate up to presumably their advanced level. And watching the guy go through CG Spectrum has been like, he's professional now and he's working. So Sin Studio, I know a guy who went to art school. And oh, real quick, Cece's asking where my Discord link is, if people want some advice to get in. So I didn't post it in this video's description, but if you go into other YouTube videos, specifically my shorter ones, there should be an invite link. Sorry about that. Kitsuyomi's talking about, she just wants to mention that if you're currently attending a school, look up some Patreon content or any small courses so that you can round out your education, which I totally agree with. She's saying Ross Draw's Patreon has like TB Choi taught on his Patreon recently, so that's good. I would personally recommend to avoid art schools that aren't specialized ones like these, and if you don't have anything nearby, then these online schools are the next best option.
Yeah, fantastic. Like, I don't mind moving to a different country. I think that would just be exciting.
Yeah.
But I guess yeah, online's also pretty good. It's mostly like getting hours into drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's mostly hours. Like you saw me, right? I've taken 3 classes and worked full time during it, so it's definitely possible. I can't find her actual school, but Angela Sung now has an online school where she brings other people in to teach actual classes. Project City is more animation based. Rad, what's his name? He started this. Rad Seachrist or Seachrist, and it's all storyboarding, filmmaking, backgrounds for animation. So that's an entire school that focuses explicitly on that. Then there was one more, but the name is escaping me.
I just sent you a link, Alex, to a it's new. It's a course in CGMA, but it's like a mentorship rather than like a self-guided thing. Take a look at that, because I'm tempted to take that next summer, and it looks really good. But I've never heard of the artist before, and like the mentorship, you know, I don't know. I just don't want to get a bunch of pre-recorded lessons, but this sounds like it's live when I read it.
Yeah, and I think that's true. Like, I have a friend who took some CGMA classes, or at least one, since I took it, and kind of got burnt in Tyler Edlin's class. Not to say that Tyler Edlin wasn't good, but at the time the format was all pre-recorded lessons, a 1-hour Q&A session a week where you could only type to the instructor, so no actual talking. And that I did not enjoy. But they've now since changed and said they do live group sessions. And my friend said that yes, it is similar to Brainstorm's format. So
Yeah, this one looks really good.
I don't know Forrest myself, but I assume this is League work. It looks like League. Yeah. Oh, dude. Like, yeah. He works probably. What's the studio that works on Legend of Runeterra? But yeah, if you're gonna take the class, take notes, please, and please tell me.
I will do. I mean, it won't be till the summer probably, because I can't do this one because this registration ends later this month, and then it starts this month too. But I'm with Tyler Edlin in February until the end of March, so I can't do this anyway. And besides, this is too advanced for me right now. So
yeah, you would have to have, like, I would recommend having good rendering quality or a good rendering understanding, so that you could make as much use out of this class as you possibly could.
But I am assuming, though, you do learn a lot of rendering techniques on this class. I mean, I think most importantly, you'd need basic fundamentals like perspective, form, anatomy, all that kind of stuff, and some rendering. But I think you learn a lot on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Let's see. Let's catch up with some stuff on. They're saying, CC was saying to Herax that Sin Studio. So she said Sin Studio's diploma program is pretty good too. Same price as New Edge, and she had gotten in there as well. So while I'm
Yeah, I took
talking,
classes with Studio and I really, really enjoyed it.
cool. Then yeah, that seems like a lot of good options. It's more character design focused overall, is what she's saying, or he. Mariah online is saying Brainstorm was really difficult, especially having a full-time job on top of it. Yeah, like the classes are no joke, and I would really recommend everyone who's interested in working professionally take at least a class, because the pressure test that you get put under in these classes is far beyond anything that you would do yourself. It's the amount of work that you're expected to do, the efficiency that you develop is such a big jump. I know this is not her school, but Angela Sung has a school that is not just her online classes. I'm posting all these links in the Discord chat for anyone wondering why I'm parsing through these. So,
Would you say before like taking a class in, let's say, Brainstorm, have a good understanding of, let's say, if you were to take a character design, or if you were to take an environment design course, or whatever, like to have an understanding of the fundamentals of character, like knowing your anatomy or the understanding of environment, understanding color theory and that kind of stuff before taking the course?
Yes. So one big thing that I would recommend is do not pay for anything that is within a fundamentals area, like foundation. See how, except for something that is explicitly like a high level class, like this is a portfolio building class that recommends that you be intermediate and is project based. But anything that is just going to be teaching you anatomy and color and sketching skill, all of that is technical. Meaning anyone can teach it. It's not subjective. It's not difficult to learn. It's not like something that you have to, what is the word? Not substill, that's not the right word, but like condense down into approachable information, and you could possibly be taught something new from every single person that you speak to, because it's like an aha kind of moment. Perspective and anatomy drawing is so easily done on your own nowadays. That's what I did. But don't touch it. Like you can find ways to learn color and practice it yourself without taking the color class. And then once you feel like you have some decent fundamentals, jump into a basic design course. So what am I looking for? They've got Intro to Character Design, or Character Design 1. Like, even if you don't feel ready for it, it's going to be a huge pressure test to see if you can handle it, and you'll know exactly what you can't do, which will push you out of your comfort zone and work harder to get better at that. So for instance, like I took Tyler Edlund's architecture design class, and it recommended having environment sketching. And I'll pull up what I did in his class. Let's see. At the time, I had never taken a class before. I had never done environment sketching outside of the basic studies that I had tried doing on my own. And I did not feel prepared for it, but I tried it anyway. And some of the stuff that I did is here. And hi, Christina, on YouTube. Thanks for joining. It's really fun to see people talking this week. In the lessons, usually there's nothing. So there were a lot of notes that we took, some fundamentals of basic design, which I did not grasp at the time, but it's all now settling in a year and a half later. Basic sketching studies, basic form understanding of architecture, and then I studied some past student work. It was me just trying to keep up. So this was all in the span of a week. This was all 7 days, taking notes, doing studies. And then at the end of it, you take the silhouettes in the first week, and I know that I tried a couple different, I tried a bunch of different ones. So this was the first week of just taking a design. Here was an isometric one, here was something in perspective, all different lighting, and then trying to hit a design brief, and then painting it up. So I did all that in 7 days in the class while working full-time.
Damn.
You don't have to do that, but you know, the more you do, the more you get out of it. And so each week I would take his notes, which were like 2-hour videos, and he would be talking about different architectural stuff. Like, it was really educational. And then I would try to implement. I started learning 3D during it because he had a baby during this class, so we needed to take a gap week. So I taught myself how to put cylinders in 3D, and so I used that to make this.
That's really nice. I like the lighting.
I think at the time, I was really, really proud of it. And Zeryuku on YouTube is asking, is there a puppy in the background? There is. We have 3 dogs in the house right now. And so all of this, about halfway through the class, I burnt out, which you might imagine with me. Like, this was just week 3 on Asian architecture, doing 3D, doing the painting, doing paintovers with friends, working full-time, taking notes, going into week 4 and doing different designs, putting it into perspective. By week 5, the things got too advanced for me. He started suggesting color thumbnail explorations, and it's like, I don't even know how to sketch with paint. That was too high level. I couldn't visualize it. So a lot of this was studying pictures and just redoing it. And I failed on the assignment, which was to take a gray box and texture it and paint it up. And at that point, it felt so difficult and so insurmountable that I kind of just burnt out, and I wasn't able to really do it. So that was week 5, week 6, week 7. I just took notes and I would do the original study phase, but that was it. Hi people online. So Alice Pocket is asking, is learning 3D software mandatory nowadays for concept artists? No, I am happy to say. A lot of people are going to say you need 3D, and it's not bad advice. Like, you should, in your spare time, learn some 3D just enough for you to navigate and put primitives in perspective to resemble something that you might make. But all of the professionals that I had spoken to at the time in my classes, so Tyler Edlin didn't know a lot of 3D when I took his class a year and a half ago. Kason Lam and Kenny Vo don't use 3D in their day-to-day at all. And they work under James Peck and John Park, like, for their freelance studio, Netflix, Paramount, in animation. I'd say if you're going for photorealistic in games and stuff like that, being able to use 3D is very important. But it depends on where you're going. So once you know where you're going, if you're going into animation or stylized TV, not as important. If you're going into realistic, if you're going into films and game, at least know a little. And if you're going into photorealistic, know a lot. So let's see, just browsing through the stuff we've done. It's a tour. I think I browsed through some of this, but I had done a month of mech studies where I was just replicating cool mechs that I found online, and then after every 10 or 15 I would try to design my own. So this was my first foray into character design. It was really good.
A bit off topic, but did you manage to take a quick look at my rough sketch, like gesture of Vi? Because it was a question about tangents I asked you.
Yes.
It might be interesting for your viewers to hear how to avoid that tangent that I brought up.
Yeah, I'll get through this stuff first because it is off topic from the video itself, and I do want to help you. I'm sorry, Ellie, but I haven't gotten to it yet.
No. There's no rush at all. No. I just got reminded of it, and I was like, oh yeah.
Okay. Yes. If we bring it up, if there's time to bring it up, or if we just go for a long time, absolutely. This was Wouter Tolp's painting workout on schoolism. This was fun. Every day he has you try painting something different, and working with 3 values, 2 values, and then you start progressing into people, color, caricature, compressing value, really expanding value, so the foreground was high contrast where the background was low contrast, keeping your values intact but using weird color to prove that you can paint with any colors that you want as long as your value structure holds up. Really beneficial exercises. Highly compressed low value, so this is a low-key image. It still holds up, but there's not a lot of contrast and it's on purpose. Then high-key, highly compressed high-value image. It was cool. I enjoyed testing this. Exposure to different painting styles and techniques and goals of an image, like how to take a reference and make it interesting. Like if you wanted to make it a statement, how would you take something and then say, how could I interpret this as an artist? It was very good for that. Alice is saying online, at that point I want to stay in paint versus 3D. It's too much out of my interest zone. Yeah. And again, just make sure that it lines up with your goals as well. So if you want to get somewhere that is, oh my god, this dog. If you guys can hear it, then I'll just.
We can hear it. But at least I can't.
Here she is. This is the one staying with us. This is the one whining. The obnoxious one. They might bark, they might whine, I don't know. But I've got 3 dogs in the room, just under here. After Tyler's class, I got roped into this crazy dumb indie project that went nowhere. It was a total failure, but called Azure Domain, and it was a team of like 2 developers that wanted to basically make a AAA MMO level RPG ace combat fighter that also had ground exploration and common areas with all and they wanted to have their Patreon and their soundtrack on Spotify and all of that stuff all before they had even developed a playable space. But while I helped for like 3 weeks and I tried giving them art direction for their different factions and just finding target inspiration and shape language to inspire them and then produce it. So I did try like photo bashing, which I don't know if this would fly because I think this is, yeah, it's taking other artists' work and just bashing it into something new. You would definitely be required to, in a real world setting, to use photos that you have the license to and make it so that this is not recognizable as someone else's existing work. Otherwise, that's blatant plagiarism. Which I don't know why I did it at the time, but I guess just because I was trying it out myself. These were models that they used, and then I photo textured myself, so this would all be fine. This would fly. Alice is saying online, sounds like a very ambitious project. Yeah, like they wanted environment designs and points of interest. It was all quite a bit of stuff. But it was a good like little avenue for me to practice the the design briefing fundamentals that I had learned from Tyler's class and just try to get a grasp on it. Lighting fundamentals from Sam Nielsen's course. So I discovered him after Lightbox and I liked what he taught about. And so then I tried doing some of his rendering stuff, which was very beneficial. I learned some key workflows and some key principles of light on reflective surfaces and stuff that changed how I painted. But I quit after week 4 because it got way too dense. he started teaching caustics. So this one was like, there's a warm key light, there's a cool fill light, and all of these are going to refract and create different light patterns, and you have to invent all of it just based off of what you know from light physics. And so like the glass would warp things, the grapes are going to have some subsurface, this transparent ball is going to project a caustic pattern onto the picnic table. It's like, okay, I'm not looking to be a light physics engineer right now. I might return to it though. And let's see, just a lot of, I was playing with different courses that I found online, just getting more sketching in. These are all original, so I was kind of stretching. That was a study. This was an Aaron Lamonic study, then trying to take what I studied and implement it myself. Just getting a lot of volume in. We've already done heads. We did the drawing folder. Some more hard surface practice from reference. I tried Inktober a couple times. Oh, so this is fun, yeah. So here's 2019 Inktober, day 5 that I tried painting myself from a picture. Day 2 that I did from imagination. So this was 2019, my first year. And then here was 2021, I guess 2 years later. Yeah, 2 years later. And I did one Inktober day in 2020. I never stick with Inktober. I think I'm not much of an ink guy anymore. I signed up to Sam Does Art's Patreon for like a month and watched his tutorial on expressions, which I really enjoyed. And I liked where that went. So these were all expressions that I drew from imagination, and then I painted them up with how he does colors and how he does paints, and I liked that quite a bit. So we're now firmly in year 2 territory, like late year 2, because Tyler Edlin was a year and a half ago. These are all paintovers, this paintings channel. So I frequently like to help people and see where they can improve things. So this is always fun to browse through. Like, let's see. Group all this. And I think this is a before and after. No, it's not. But so there was the original. And we took it to this. So changing the composition, getting out of that flat color, adding some light, that sort of thing. I really recommend doing this for anybody you can, because it requires you to look at work, assess what is wrong with it, and how it can be improved or corrected. Like that's a fundamental skill that you need with your own work. For instance, I started with this guy's painting. It was a self-portrait. And I was like, oh, okay, if you want that. And he wanted it to be like a commemorative, flashy, like, why doesn't this feel nice and warm? And I said, here's how we can improve it. And so once I do the paint over, I go back to the person. I ask for their permission, of course. And I go back to them and I rewrite everything that I did, that I assessed, to try to improve it. And This one was a guy with line drawings, and I was showing him how he could approach lighting it. Oh, on Discord, Nick is asking, do I recommend any specific time period to solely focus on fundamentals? Time period like 1600s? Or do you mean like how long should you practice fundamentals for? Because fundamental practice is something that you'll do forever as an artist. Like in your first, until you can hit intermediate level, until you feel like you have a good understanding of, I'm trying to look past my microphone. Where was it? Maybe if I don't type in years. 78 days. Oh, it's also on Ecosia instead of Google. Yeah, there it is. Here's the Reddit link. I'll just post this on Discord. There you go, Andy Pandy. So, yeah, a lot of this stuff is really beneficial for your own development because it constantly asks you to figure out why something doesn't work. Let's see. I don't know. But I refined it, I looked up other references, and I tried to match value staging in folds for that person. Like this one was a Reddit one that I found in the Learn Art sub, and they didn't know how to push their work past this point. Oh crap, I'm not talking.
I think your stream's frozen.
Whoops.
There you go.
It just wasn't on it. Sorry guys. Thank you for telling me. And like went from there to there. And so I told him like he should use his practical light sources, he should use the cool light and have a background. Like all of that is going to create dynamism, and that was good advice for myself. Rendering paint over stuff like this in a character. Let's see. Going from that to that. So indicating material and getting a better color harmony. Stuff like this one. This one was fun. Let's see. There's the original. That was someone here in the group that I liked helping. And getting that to look more like Destiny, that high contrast lighting. I need this dog to stop with the ball. Okay, leave us, dogs. Come on, let's go. Bye-bye. Dang, that dog has no chill with the tennis ball, that little Cocker Spaniel. Okay. Alright, so my first class with Brainstorm, Case and Lamb, environment sketching, taught me everything I know. And it's a lot of volume. He called them push-ups, so each week you would do like at least 30 drawings, 30 sketches. And some of them he would say to get to like a mid-level finish. He started teaching us about assets, which were really helpful. And all of this stuff. I think the cool part was getting exposed to that and then just going through all of these push-ups and then trying to study interiors, and then so like the variety that you do and the build-up really boosts your understanding. Hello.
Hey.
What's
How's everything
going on?
going?
It's going well. We are 2 hours in now, and there's a lot to go through.
Awesome.
But we're hanging out. Feel free to talk. It's no big deal. And
Great, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave, but nice talking to you. Thanks for the tips. Good luck.
yeah, absolutely. And I hope you find something that works for you.
Yeah, I think I'm just like gonna stick to fundamental training for a while to get
Mm-hmm.
like a full control of all the basic stuff like anatomy and all that, and then take some courses online like you recommended.
Yeah. You always could take a course if you've got the money to spare. Like if you want to take a fundamentals class on anatomy or something, it might be helpful.
I feel like I'm doing pretty well with the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a digital iPad yet.
Yeah.
Like I can't find a cheap one, but I'm not stressed. I'm thinking maybe it's a good idea to learn traditional first, like blending colors and that kind of stuff. Maybe take like half a year or a year to learn how to blend and do some painting in gouache and oils, and then maybe transition over to digital.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Definitely.
So yeah, that's the plan.
Cool.
Right?
Looking
Peace.
forward to it. Check you out later.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this dog. Can you hear it? Someone tell me.
No, you're good now.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad, because it's driving me nuts. I closed the door and now it wants back in. I gave its tennis ball to it out there. This one was fun. I did a character design for an image that I had very big ambitions on. So this is the magic of iterative process. I can't stress this enough. I had a week to do it. I came up with all these compositions, but I didn't have a good understanding of, like, I knew that you needed to emphasize a focal point with light, but I didn't understand composition by leading lines and arranging shapes and stuff. So all of these thumbnails are pretty busy and pretty chaotic. But I tried designing every single part that was going to go into that image and then try to implement it myself. And the line work, while I liked the line work, it was a lot. And I didn't know how to manage a lighting setup, so I tried a bunch of different ideas. This one, like each one, I was going back and forth with friends online, like, guys, this is not working. How can this fit better? And like, okay, let's try this, and then I'd turn away, and then I'd come back, and then I'd change the mood. But still, it wasn't working. And so I'm gonna have to do something with this dog again. Apparently YouTube can hear. I think Discord has the noise filtering, which is why you guys can't hear it. But
Oh, probably. I was watching on YouTube, and you can hear it a good amount.
Okay. Then I'm going to address that after this, because it's driving me insane. So I just totally scrapped the image altogether, tried a couple more thumbnails, and then I tried this with different lighting setups, and that still wasn't working, and so I finally ended up on this. Completely different idea, but still rooted in the same project. And not only that, but I leaned into style more, and it came out way easier than the head bashing that was occurring with the other 7 attempts. So that's a learning lesson. Like, if you're really fighting an image, it might be worth it if you have the time, but oftentimes in classes or fast-paced environments, you don't have that luxury. So start again. Start with something that is going to come out easier. Dragon design.
And did you try using like a benchmark, another picture has your standard for quality that you're looking for in that piece?
Yeah, like I know that I had people like G. Lulian who was inspiring. That's why this was so busy, because I was looking at G. Lulian on ArtStation, and he's got these massive in-scope images, and it's like, this detail here, and once I decided I needed to pare back, I started looking at other artists that were in a more stylized world and trying to implement that. This dog's going insane. I need to do something, so hang on. Come on, let's go. Okay, I'm back. Just that dog that we're taking care of for the day clearly has never been trained to be separated. Like if you close a door, if you put it in a crate, which we cleared with them that we were allowed to do, but we tried putting them in a crate last night and kept us up. It has no chill with the whining. So yes.
I have to go now.
Okay.
But I might be able to join a bit later on if you're still on or whenever. But it's been cool seeing all your progress.
Oh, thanks, Ellie, and thanks for hanging out. It's always fun. The more people to talk, the more enjoyable it is. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Sure. All right. I'll see you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye-bye.
A bunch of studies. This is Irie Pan's course. I didn't make it all the way through. CC on YouTube is saying, I'm designing a market for an assignment and I have to do a full keyframe painting of it, and I only have 6 days in total. It's gonna be a struggle. Oh, okay, then yes, I've seen you in Jordan Tuffin's Discord. So yeah, I saw that you were trying to come up with an idea. Yeah, it's a struggle. Like I definitely agree with that sentiment. Like for instance, this was in Kenny Vo's class at Brainstorm WB2 World Building, and in the span of a week we would have to have 3 keyframes. So like in 1 week I had this idea for like a volleyball sequential story, and I wanted them to be going into a building where they were holding their championship, because I was reading and watching Haikyuu at the time. It's a volleyball anime, and I wanted them to like line up and be prepared for the shot, and then have a cool action shot where they do all that. But I quickly realized that this was going to be really difficult. Like all of the sheer amount of detail, the crowds. Check this out. I tried doing this and doing some photo bashing, but then I was drawing the faces in an animated style, so I quickly realized this is not going to work. Like this is not good. So that was after 2 days of progress, and I just scrapped it again, like I did with the dragon project in WB1. And instead, I had an idea that came to me a lot easier after I did some more brainstorming, and it was more like horror focused, weirdly enough. But I was able to get 3 shots in. I got the sketches out in like a couple hours, whereas the other ones were a grueling process, and I was able to catch up to my classmates on the grayscale painting. So that became my midterm final, and did all that in a week. If you're not used to it, I'd say it's tough, but really like put in more time than you think you would need to hit that deadline. It'll be worth it in the long run. So let's rewind. Kenny's class, I love Kenny. He's my art god, my personal art god. He's my buddy, my mentor, my friend. I met him in his class. And this class goes from, so we did environment sketching in Kaysen's class. And here while it's called World Building 2 Design, he was having us focus on making a successful image. So really it was focusing on painting and understanding value grouping. So the first week was 100 value studies of cinema. So 100 of these shots all in a week. If I dive into these, then you can see each one. The cool thing about this, and why I highly recommend people do high volume challenges like this every once in a while, is because of the refinement it breeds into you out of necessity. So for instance, you can see I've got a couple in here. I start off and like I'm partially rendering some. I'm painting a little bit. Like I'm looking at some of these smaller lights, and those don't matter compositionally, which was, and I thought that they did, but when you are looking for a 3-value setup on what makes an image stand on its own as a read, it doesn't matter. What matters are the big value shapes. That's what an image stands on. So as I made my way through 50, then 75, and 100, I started figuring that out. And just because of how much I had to do in such a short amount of time, I got a little more carefree and a little more decisive with the shapes. I started using a lasso or a hard brush and just getting the stuff that had things pop off where they needed to. So long story short, the benefit of doing those do 100 something in only 7 days is you have to get efficient and you find the things that matter and you focus on those, and usually that ends up being really beneficial. Of course, you have to be ready and at a level to handle that, an assignment of that level, but very beneficial. Oh, Cece's saying that she took WB1 with Scott Centeno. Did you by any chance, it might be a long shot, but did you take the class with Yin Shen and Jessica? Because I know both of them and they're really great. Next assignment in Kenny's class was to make a couple images, a couple line drawings, and light them 3 ways. And we needed 3 sets of them. So his process is pretty interesting, Kenny's process, which is working almost entirely in silhouette. He doesn't draw things out. He doesn't take all the time to get a fancy line drawing. He knows that his speed and his skill is in the painting stage. So you can very quickly get good details just by taking silhouettes and basic shapes and copying them around. If you put this here or you flip it, how does that look in perspective? How does that look if you take this and you have 2 of them and now you put it over here, right? Like, I have no idea. I don't know. Kenny does it very effectively. And through that method, he can take a basic silhouette like this, and then he can light it 3 different ways to get a functional image in the span of like 30 minutes. Really, really efficient. And that's why all of those value studies were important earlier on. Here's one. So I've even got the reference pulled up. I wanted to go with like sunset. So there it is there. Sunset, light coming in from the right, and underlit. Nell is asking who the full name is. It's Kenny though. So he's got 2 classes at Brainstorm. Let's see. I'm taking entertainment design with him, which is this class, and that starts next Tuesday. And that's going to be going through and making a full project. See, here's his workflow. And
EDM is also taking that class, Alex.
Who?
The moderator for Brainstorm, Amrit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's taking that class next term too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I talked to him about it. I not talked to him, but I saw him mention it with Kenny. Here's some of Kenny's work. I love what he does. Just
so good.
It's like there's such tasteful graphic shapes to it, and he can go between realistic and stylized, and just the things that he is capable of. It's just mind-blowing. But okay, there's a couple new people on YouTube. Bob Good is asking, is Brainstorm good for beginners or should I be more advanced? Another guy asked that earlier. My advice is don't pay for classes that are fundamentals based, because you can learn it all online. Figures and perspective boot camps and stuff like that, head drawing, head anatomy, you can all get that for free on YouTube or for like $20 from Marco Bucci. Like, do not spend hundreds of dollars on a class that you could do yourself. if you need that discipline, if you need the pressure of reporting to somebody, then sure, like do it if you got the money to spare. But once you feel like you're at an intermediate level, you could take any of these classes and benefit from them. Yeah. CC saying that she wanted... Oh, I missed Matthias's question. Which teacher did I choose for WB1? That was Kason Lamb. And everything that I'm teaching you, Matthias, is coming a lot from his class. So here he is, Kason Lamb. And
he's amazing for that stuff. I learned a lot. That was the first class I took, Alex.
Awesome.
Brainstorm.
Yeah, I mean, Kason is so cool. He's such a fun dude.
He really is.
And I didn't know anything about Kason at the time, and his socials aren't like super propped up. And I was wondering, like, is he really an environment guy? But his work is cool, and it's like, sure, I'll learn from him. But then you get to know the guy, and and you realize that, oh, he's actually incredible. And let's see.
Yeah. I remember I was doing it for high school, so I was registering late. So I went in, and Kason wasn't my first choice because I went and I looked through everybody to see who I wanted to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, his socials aren't really, like, I don't really like the work that he's showing that much.
Yeah.
I'm not really that into it. But then I got into his class, and I was like, holy shit. This guy's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I got him over everyone else.
Same.
He's great. He's so friendly. There's just a lot to say, and it's all good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So
He's
Matthias, you're asking if you wanted to do another sketching course. Again, everything I'm teaching you is coming straight from Kason, but Kason is so fun, and he invites you to his personal Discord when you're done. And everyone there is a lot of fun too. So
yeah, great.
Okay,
yeah,
so
you get to hang out with all of us there.
What else are people saying? People, Cece saying that she wanted to take Kenny's class really bad, but then she got into New Edge and had to save every penny. I think you're okay being at New Edge. So if you ever get a chance to work with Kenny, but what's amazing about Kenny and Kason is that they are basically James Peck's his understudies. So if you know anything about James Peck and the fact that he started Brainstorm and that he's one of the OGs of the concept art world, they both studied at the same desk. Like, they drew on the same desk at Brainstorm. And when the school originally started, so when James Peck and John Park were actually teaching things themselves, and they became class assistants, and then James Peck said, hey, I think what you guys are doing is really good, and I think I can help you get to where you want to go. So if you want, work at ScribblePad Studios, my personal freelance studio, with me for a couple years. And basically the deal was, I'll turn you into art gods, but I won't pay you that much. That's kind of how it worked out for them. But it absolutely worked. And everything that they teach is regurgitated information that they got directly from James. So, really valuable. Kenny's personal strength that he talks about is his speed, which he learned from James Peck. He's talked about making 7 paintings in a day before for his job. And what that means is, if you go to Kenny's Instagram, Kenny was also in the same class with Kason and Finian McManus and Kevin Jick and other gods like that, which is unbelievable. But all this stuff, he would call this kind of loose, because when you get in, all of the detail is suggested photo bashing with his silhouette design philosophy. So he doesn't take the time to draw everything out. He'll make one really good silhouette, fill it in with a couple suggested light shapes, then copy and paste it around, make some really, really intentional and well-placed shape strokes, and that is enough to make an image. So he says he could pump something out like this, maybe 7 of these in a day if he was really working at it. And so Kenny's real skill is his speed. And definitely worth learning with him. Old Boy on YouTube is asking, this is very impressive. I watched your environment sketching lesson number 1, and it was really great to get your view on the basics. Going to start lesson 2 soon. I wanted to know what you were working on. And yeah, so I'm starting ENT1, Entertainment Design with Kenny, next week, and I'm at an animation studio and starting up work at a township tale for Alta. Let's see. I start with them next month. So I'll be the sole 2D concept artist. They haven't had a dedicated 2D guy since starting the project 5 years ago, and it's all been 3D artists that have been making their assets and things like that. So they're going to be bringing me on to make concepts, make designs, and overhaul a lot of their stuff. So Gaming Geek on YouTube is asking, is it possible to work both as a concept and animation artist? Because I have interest in both of them. Yes, it is. I'm going to go back to Kenny because Kenny is the truth. So what Kenny did when working with James Peck at ScribblePad was basically when you work at a freelance studio, you're making deals with anybody that signs up with you. So Sony is going to come to James Peck and say, we want a couple concepts for God of War. But at the same time, Paramount Animation is also going to come to James Peck and say, hey, we need some stylized animated concepts for our next Star Trek animated show. And James is going to turn around to Kenny and say, hey, we need 5 images for both of these projects and we need them by the end of a week. Kenny does that. So he works between stylized and ultra realistic, and he's done Hearthstone style, he's done God of War, he's done photoreal, he works at Netflix animation, so he's gone for the full range. If you can do it all, that's awesome. When you're first starting, target one thing. That's my advice to you, is you don't want to get caught up in trying to be good at all of it. You want to get a job first. Then you can use that job as a jumping off point. You can branch out your skills, and you might be able to work your way in that way. And you can become a generalist. But you really have to play things smart to be good at all the general things. So let's keep going. And another part of Kenny's class that I really liked was his emphasis on sequential storytelling and using film as a basis for making images. It's not just about composition and thinking about rule of thirds. It's also about thinking cinematically and thinking about everything that you're doing in a tangible space. So he introduced us to the idea of using maps, designing a map, and then placing cameras within it that would become scenes. So, let's see. Let's just pull it all up right here. I've got my cameras. It's going to load. So I decided that camera 1 would be here in the bottom left. Whoa, just crashed. For as much as I love Procreate, it's gotten less stable over time. So number 1, number 2, number 3. So I knew that I wanted to move from an establishing shot to a mid shot of the building itself, and then an interior shot in the building. And that's exactly what I did. So you can compare. Camera 1 comes from that entrance. I've got a car coming up on a manor. And so you want both of those to be of interest. How do you support that? Then how do you do a mid shot on the map of the estate itself? I show the car arriving at the party, and then a final interior close-up shot, becomes this. And rather than it being heavily lighting focused, it was more notan, which is value focused. So I put light on dark with her dress rather than having dramatic lighting, that sort of thing. Really great lessons. Here are my references that I worked off of. So yeah, we did midterms. Then after the midterm in Kenny's class, he had us do style studies. So study a lowish and then re-implement what you learned. And that's always beneficial. This was not Rob Ruppel, but Alberto Mielgo. And so I studied his work, and then I tried to re-implement some of those colors into the way I made this composition. Trying to do Spider-Verse laundromat. What was that? Did you have something to say?
No, just thinking about Spider-Verse stuff.
I know.
Dude, he's so good.
Spider-Verse 2, I can't believe they're even pushing the bar further. Do you see the trailer for it?
Yeah, dude, that stuff's insane.
Oh my god, going full acid, neon yellows and greens. Like
yeah, dude, I saw the neon green and I was like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
It's weird to think about, but that is such a statement. Like in the world of film and animation, how often do color palettes move in that direction? Right, you know? Like if you do neon, it's usually like neon purples, blues, and magentas to have that cool like dark but neon, kind of like a Jinx and Arcane. People will go that direction, but going full acid and just my god, flat colors but fully saturated yellows and greens is so confident. I love it.
Yeah, it's like hardcore. It's so bright that they have to like really be careful about it.
And to think they're gonna be doing a different art style in every universe they hop into is...
Oh, are they actually?
That's what I assume, because the art style changed when he went to 2099, and since all the different characters have different art styles.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be even crazier, dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be unreal. Okay, this last one. This was our final project, which I think we had 2 or 3 weeks to do. And the pitch was suburbs, but with a twist. So if you do suburbs, it needs to have an idea to it. So I had 2 major ideas. I had like a Halloween town suburb based off of San Francisco. And it's got things like, I got these people buying their first house. And he goes to work. He works at Satan Inc., so it looks like satanic. But when he goes to work, he hates being stuck in traffic. And they go to school at Alcatraz. That's like a major university. I had a couple other sketches in here. They might be hidden. Oh well. But the other one was, I had just been exposed to KDA with League of Legends, and I saw their Star Guardians music videos, and I love that. So I tried to go off of that idea and kind of do my own Star Guardians story. Not really based on anything League of Legends, just the final design, which was Sailor Moon-esque. So basic story is they're like this elf human civilization that live in mountains that are miles high in the sky, so they're basically in the clouds. They see this comet that crashes, and they run to it to find the comet, and upon discovering it, so these were 2 different thumbnails for the same idea. Upon discovering it, it has a bunch of crystals inside, and I gotta get the transformation scene, that must be in here. Yeah. So when touching the crystal, they have a Sailor Moon transformation. And then she becomes a Star Guardian. So I wanted to go League of Legends splash art kind of thing. But I didn't quite get there. what I ended up with. Oh, and she also fights a monster. So, and just exploring other architectural ideas. It eventually turned into me roughing out different compositional roughs based off of the keyframes that I had, but focusing a little bit differently and a little more on the encounters with a star goddess who grants her power rather than crystals. And some action thumbnails inspired by League of Legends splash art, which turned into these paintings, which this was basically a milestone in my painting career. Like, this was the first major image that I think hit a quality bar where I'm approaching, not there yet, but approaching getting hireable. Yeah, it's just the render quality was another step above anything I had done before. That mixed with the understanding of value principles that Kenny had encouraged over the course of a class really turned this into something successful.
It's really nice to see the whole process from sketches to final painting.
Yeah, it's a huge process, right? So, and this is a process that Kenny encourages a lot, which is he starts from blue sky, what he calls blue sky paintings, and that's coming up with anything you possibly can. And of course, you have to be at an intermediate to advanced stage to do this, but that is to come up with ideas, paint it roughly, get a goal in mind, because you don't want to design anything that isn't going to be used in the image later. And that's the same process that he does at Netflix and stuff. So when he comes on as an early visual development artist, he'll provide a bunch of paintings, better than this, of course, but all of the design isn't going to be roughed out. It's not going to be finalized. It's maybe not even within the stylistic target, not fully. But with that in mind, they can then go in and they can figure out their designs and figure all that out separately, so that when you take it back into your hero image, everything gets used. It's a very efficient method. My only problem is figuring out just how to come up with so many things in the blue sky phase. Right? Like you have to have a good understanding of composition, scale, how to have a story idea and convey it. It's all really important. Otherwise, like, you're just going to be stuck on a screen and be like, man, how do I even just come up with something? This is blue sky. You come up with anything you want. How the heck do you do that? It gets really hard. I'm starting to turn the corner on that, but it's definitely hard in the beginning. After Kenny's class, I just started doing painting practice, doing what he did, taking some of the fundamentals and the process tips that he had, and just practicing it daily. So all of these are daily paints, an hour or less, focusing on silhouette, then filling it with detail and doing post-processing. And each one, I think, I tried something a little bit different, and it was a good learning process.
All those are less than 1 hour.
Yeah, these are all an hour.
Really
Or
good.
maybe a little more, so let's see. 2 hours here. I deleted the replays. But yeah, so that's the value of, or the benefit of working in silhouettes, which is what Kenny was teaching. And you don't have to draw all this if you go direct to paint. So if you start off with this shape, you can then work into that with, let's find a good brush, something with texture. Now you've got mountains, and then you can colorize it, and then you can detail, and that's the basic process. The thing is that you really have to learn how to paint within stuff without having all the drawing underneath. So it can be difficult, but it's learnable, and Kenny uses it to amazing effect. These were 5-minute studies, so this is just direct painting, looking at a reference on top, using a single brush, no layers, and doing one in 5 minutes. So that's just assessing color. I think I grew with each one, and understanding how to use my brushes better, what brushes I could use for certain techniques, and finding a preferred style or a way to finish my paintings so that they have kind of like a look that I want. On YouTube, sorry for missing the message, Gaming Geek is asking, thanks for the advice. I'm actually 18 years old, starting out. Do you have some class recommendations from Brainstorm? Well, it depends. So like I had mentioned earlier that I would not recommend paying for anything that is fundamentals based, anything that is technical and already exists on YouTube. So for that, I would just recommend my Reddit curriculum that I made. You can Google that. I'll show you how. If you type in Radio Runner curriculum Reddit, you'll get it. It's right here. Curriculum for the solo artist. So everything here is going to take you through everything I did. It's everything that I did to get to where I'm at. Practice all this stuff. After a year and a half, after 2 years, you will be good enough to do design. At least I would hope. I'm not going to say you will, because people have gotten mad at me for false advertising. But that's what I did. You don't have to pay a cent, especially when you're just finishing high school. Andrew's asking, what differences in growth did I notice from doing quicker pieces I could finish in one day versus doing longer term projects? That's a great question. So yeah, doing quick ones is going to help you find process, and Kenny harps on that a lot. You won't be a successful concept artist if you don't have a process lined up that allows you to pump out images quickly. If you don't know how to construct an image and get a product every single time, you won't succeed. You can't keep up. So when you practice quickly with a specific idea, like a specific method of working, and you know how to replicate it, that's the value of doing these repeatedly. And I did that again with my September Paints More challenge, which is here. So I did 28 paintings, 1 painting a day. It would be 2.5 hours. And with each one, I was just getting faster and assessing different style while also using and manipulating Kenny's workflow, because I resonate with it pretty strongly. So a lot of that is a simple sketch to begin with, then laying in a silhouette, and then working color on top. But as opposed to that, getting into a long-term painting allows for you to really assess how to push the quality bar. How do you push to the next level? Which you're not going to do if you never put yourself through the struggle of having to do it. So, for instance, like if I only ever did my paintings in 2.5, 3 hours and I just stopped here, I'm never going to get to the next level. It doesn't work that way. If I'm never going to be able to paint like a League of Legends splash artist like I would want, like I might want to one day. Instead, I have to come in here and spend 40 hours and really get into details and think about light and how all of that gets worked out so that when you zoom in on everything, every part of it has detail. For instance, this one, I really hit a wall on rock rendering, which was all that this image was, but I really had to figure out, like, how am I going to get that to look the way that I need it to and make it look believable in the space with the level of detail that I would want to see in a splash image, and the same on this character. So I started heavily comparing with splash art and saying like, okay, I see in splash art they have like they eliminate brush strokes, so the strokes get so refined that you no longer can see individual brushes. It becomes shapes. So you might get your colors, you might get your gradients worked in, and then you blend things out so that you start reducing your brushes and you start getting in these designed shapes in, and that applies to their material indication and their lighting and all that stuff. So yeah. Average is asking on YouTube if I use lasso painting as much as I used to. I would say yes, but as I've gotten more and more into details, I don't use lasso for that. It's when I rough in big things or when I make a painting asset, I'll use lasso. Anytime I want gradients or I want a hard edge into a soft edge, I use lasso. If I want a specific shape, I use lasso. But I have been practicing studying from people that has taught me how to use brushes without lasso, and it has its own set of benefits, but again, I probably wouldn't work that way only, especially in a professional context. So this was all brushwork, no silhouette here, where I started with big brush strokes and built it up and refined it at a focal point. And you can even see that, like, this is one brush stroke. This let me get on a layer. This layer of grain right here, that's one brush. And then brush, brush, brush. You can see it here. So it was me learning brush economy, which is useful. Lasso creates different effects, and I am personally a big fan of lasso style painting, so I don't think I'll ever really move away from it that much. Andrew's asking, he was asking about the difference between quicker pieces and longer term projects, and I answered, and then he said, never thought about doing dailies as a way to fine-tune process. Yeah. Right now, my biggest worry is reliably pumping out work quickly, so the dailies now sounds really valuable. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say the first thing I would suggest before doing daily studies is, one, push your quality bar, hit a new benchmark. Like, for instance, I learned a bunch of stuff with Kenny. I got a bunch of practice on in-depth pieces and pushing my quality as high as I had ever done before. And then I took everything I learned and I stress tested it multiple times with daily paints. And by doing that, I really solidified what I had learned and where I was going and how I was pushing direction each time. It gave me a new opportunity to practice something new with each image, me saying, I want to use Mike McCain's brushes, or I want to make really stylistic shaped clouds, but how am I going to arrange that in an appealing way? Each time you do a daily, not only are you experimenting with something new, but you're refining process, and that increases speed. So again, it's mileage, it's familiarity. I'm going to step away. We're nearing the end, but there's still a good amount of stuff to go through. I'm going to let my dogs back in. I'll be right back. If anyone feels like just talking with me, that's totally cool too, on mic. All right, let's keep trucking along. I've got some of this is actually old stuff, old modern day James studies that I did in his class when he was still doing group classes. So this was early painting practice, playing with brushes. James would be the first to tell you that he's not a painter primarily, so it was a lot of shooting in the dark for both of us, really just trying things out. I really value my time with James. It was good to... We'd meet up once a week and we'd talk, and I'd be the only guy actually willing to chat with him. Everyone else would just stay silent. And because of that, I built up a pretty good friendship with him. And I became a mod on his Discord, so now he knows who I am. I visited him in New York and we hung out for a day. Now I'm helping him on an art project, like a professional gig. And that comes from being willing to talk to people and chat, get to know someone without the motive of getting something from them, you know? So I was paying him. I joke that I paid to be his friend, but over time it was just enough that we built up a friendship naturally. Here I'm studying his sketches. He's really progressed in his style, and grayscale, trying to apply that to my own stuff. Here I'm really exploring how do I take an image and how do I try to put it into a more of an animated context. Alice on YouTube is asking, James is going for more of an animator role, right? So yes, he's getting into storyboarding, animation, and it's going along really well. I mean, he's pitching shows now.
Oh, is he actually? Wow.
Yeah. Well, he's partnering with some people. I'm not at liberty to say what he's doing or who he's with, but
Of course, yeah.
He is pitching shows and doing designs and then pitching them to anime studios. And
very cool. How did he decide to make the change to be an animator for it?
I think I sit in on his live streams a lot. He talks about like how he's been trying to find his voice for a while, and I think it kind of happens, you know. Like I've been comparing his journey to mine, because when I first started taking classes with him, I think he was about 3 years in, 3 years of steady practice, and that's where I'm at now, teaching online too, kind of mirroring his journey. And here we are 2.5 years later, where he's really found his voice and he's focused in on the thing that he decided that he enjoyed doing. And it's because of the previous 3 to 5 years that he had, it's all blossoming into his artistic vision, you know. He has talked about before about having a lot of influence and emphasis in anime, and he was trying out different things, like I had talked about earlier, of just before you decide to be an environment concept artist, get good at everything, learn some fundamentals on everything, try out some character designs, try out some character portraits, try a couple animations. You never know what is going to click really well. And so for James, he knew that he liked Joe Madureira, you know, the Battle Chasers comic and famous comic book artist with a really distinct style, Joe Mad.
Yeah.
He's always liked that sort of direction, but then animation and seeing what they were doing in action anime really pushed things over the edge for him. And I think once he realized that, he decided to throw the other things to the wayside, refocus. He even took his Patreon down for 6 months while he practiced his shift in direction. And as a result, it paid off big time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Let's see.
So did you not like originally want to be an environment artist? Where?
No, no. I started off just doing anything. As I think you were not necessarily here at the beginning, the first couple hours, but people were saying like, "Wow, Alex, you did a lot of figure and character drawing." I went through like multiple challenges where I was studying anatomy multiple times over, doing a 400 gesture challenge and doing head studies, and it's like, yeah, I've done a lot of character work. About 10 months in, I talked with a guy who sat down with me and said, like, you can draw really well. Now that you're at this intermediate stage, you need to uh, settle down and focus on what you think is going to get you a job. So I did. I arbitrarily picked environment art, one, because I wanted to be able to draw full scenes and do comics, but two, because Trent Kanyuga had a YouTube video a couple years ago called The Other Art Jobs that talked about how character design is not the only thing that exists, and other ones are a little bit easier to get in because there's just the sheer competition difference. There's less people. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds fine. Like, yeah, I'm not going to be designing genius characters as a lead on a TV show or a game anytime soon. So I'm not going to take my chances. I'm gonna switch over to something where people always need to have someone who can draw them a crate, and people always need to have somebody who can draw them some hills, and you can get where you want to go a little bit easier. Granted, I'm not gonna say that should be everyone's path. Like, you don't need to say, oh well, Alex said it's easier to be an environment artist, so that's what I'm gonna do. That's also not inherently true. It's just that there is less competition in terms of volume of people. That doesn't mean that the skill level is any lower. The people who work in environments are gods among us, and it's like getting to that level requires some serious work. But
Yeah,
Do you do
it's easier if you like it. Sorry.
yes. Go ahead.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, me? I was
Yep.
asking if if you were doing a lot of plein air studies.
I did. So that was this Paints More. That was a month-long daily challenge where I looked at references and then I painted them. So that was a lot of fun. Some of them, like these were from real photos. This was a Polaroid photo I found on Google from like what looked to be like the 70s, and I stylized it. I wanted to keep that vintage feel, so I kept it warm. So all of these are plein airs, just me taking it through an artistic lens and trying to revise it in a different way. This was from a photo, and then I stylized it heavily, changing the shapes. At the time, I was looking at Mike McCain, who is incredible. He's a visual development, a lead viz dev guy for all of the biggest shows coming out in the next 2 years, and really influential and inspiring.
Hey, I wanted to ask a question on a completely unrelated topic.
Okay.
Yeah, what all social media platforms do you use to promote your art?
Yeah, I use only Instagram and ArtStation. I'd say that's all you need.
They're saying there are Web3 applications that will pay you to post art. Like, I was thinking to join some Web3 social media sites.
So people are. Oh, you're saying like if you wanted to do commissions, if you wanted to find people.
No, I'm talking Web3, the blockchain-based social networking sites that pay you money just to post art on them.
I don't know anything about that.
Getting like,
If you're
instead of
talking
getting
about
likes, you get money.
you get money, I don't know, man. If that's
This is true. Like all the good artists are joining Web3 applications now. It's like the buzz. It's like the like
Mhm.
if like Mark Zuckerberg talk about metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
This is another big thing that's going to happen, like Web3.
Sure.
They will not give you money. They will actually give you tokens. Now,
Right.
afterwards you can actually exchange those tokens for real money, real cash.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for
is like still
Ethereum.
money?
Well, it's all NFT stuff. It's I don't
Okay.
it's uh,
Not, yeah, they are tokens. They are not NFTs. They are a token of that specific website.
mm,
Like Reddit will have this system in a like by the end of this year. Reddit will do, they will change that karma into tokens, and you can swap that tokens for money, actual money.
really. That's the first I've heard of that. Would you mind linking
Because you're
this
actually
social
producing
site?
content. What?
Would you mind linking the sites that you're talking about? This is the first I've heard of it, so it's interesting.
Yeah, like I don't know the sites, any good sites. There are sites like there are replacement to YouTube, which like Odyssey, but there are not like popular right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can go ahead and link those for us in Discord, that'd be useful.
Uh,
As I don't know, it's
there's
really
channel, right?
hmm? What was
You
that?
can literally search Web3 anywhere, like on YouTube, on Google, anywhere.
Okay,
You
man.
will
Like,
see about it.
all I'm asking is just for you to write what I can search because I've never heard of this before. If you can link us some stuff, or I'm interested. I'm interested in reading up on it.
Web Web3, right? Web3.
Web
On
three.
Web3?
Okay, cool. So I'm not going to look into this right now because that's not the point of this stream, but I do appreciate you pulling it up, so I'll read more about it later. I'm going to
Okay.
keep going with the sketchbook tour, though. And Average on YouTube was saying that they agreed about what I was saying about exploring different paths. They're pretty sure they want to do environments, but they're doing loads of portraits at the moment and find that they enjoy them also. Yeah, that's great. I agree. The stuff I'm scrolling through right now is ArtWad practice, and that's been really fun, really cool. I recommend it if it's within your budget and you have the time for it. But it's usually like really dense assignments every couple weeks. It's a lot more than you realize that you would you would want to do in the span of a week. It might be something like do 100 form studies from imagination, and then for the second part do like 20 grayscale studies of an artist you like, and then for the third one do 3 full paintings and implementing what you learned. And so it's very beneficial because again it's that mileage, practicing the right things, and you don't have to think about it too much because he gives you a new assignment every 2 weeks. If you sign up for the full painting program, then you get painting assignments as well. Saw on YouTube they fell asleep and lost the first 2 hours. That's okay. It'll all be on YouTube still, and we're just hanging out here. We're just talking. These are master studies, painting, taking notes, and doing a sorrow, playing with proportions, shape design in an environment painting. So just the amount of work that you'll do in a week. I had counted when I did he had a hands week, studying hands, and I had counted, I think I had done something like 100 hands or 200 hands in a week. So that was definitely my stress test. Let's go back and find what I said. Drew 140 hands last week for ArtWad. So in like 5 days got really good at hands just because of the sheer expectation of doing it all. And yeah, so if you ever feel like just throwing yourself through the ringer and practicing hard, I do recommend ArtWad. Antonio, the founder of ArtWad, he and I talk a lot. I took a mentorship with him. We're possibly talking about me being an assistant teacher there. He followed kind of a similar path that I have done, where the first 3 years we just worked non-stop while working a full-time job, squeezing hours anywhere we could, focusing on fundamentals, and it resulted in once you get those fundamentals on lock, the direction you go as an artist, just it's limitless, right? It feels limitless. Like you just start to blast off. It's like, oh, I get things now, and now I look at that artist and do I want to try to be like them? Sure, I'll do that. I'll focus in and I'll get really good at that. Fundamentals allow for you to do that. It just takes time, but once you cross that hill, it's such an easy slope afterwards. It's the refinement that gets hard, but after a while the drawing and the exploration comes easier to you. Alice Pocket is saying on YouTube that for work, for an example, they're on the East Coast and they're not too familiar with any studios to work for around their hometown or neighboring states. What are the best options to work from home in? Because all of the bigger studios are on the West Coast, like Riot, Blizzard, Pixar. It's tough. I'll pull up something. Game Dev Map is what this is called. Let's see it. A lot of these are outdated, but you can click anywhere in the country or the world and you will find studios that have been reported there at some point in time. It'll be up to you to click through these and see if they're still live. Like, of course, Arcane Studios is still live and they're based elsewhere. But here's some stuff on the East Coast of the United States. And these are all developers. Grid works. So, or no, I was thinking of the game Grid, not the studio. But you could try applying to any of these. There's also smaller companies that, if you get into Discord communities, Alice, and find the ones that have like job opportunities channels, just click every single one, see if it's something that you should apply for. And I've also found my jobs through connections. Usually if you network enough and you know people that want to bring you on board, if you're not in a position to move out there, they'll be pretty willing to work remote. So the 3 jobs that I have done have all been remote so far, and 2 of them have been through connections. The 3rd one actually based off of my portfolio as a cold application. Just reaching out cold, never speaking before. Both of my studios that I'm working for are based in Australia. So as technology increases and we decentralize with our workflows, it's going to be even easier to work remote. I got to talk with John Park at the end of WB1 with Kaysen, and that was a great conversation all around. John Park is the founder, one of the co-founders of Brainstorm School, and got to sit in with him and have him critique my stuff that I did at the end of WB1. And he was like, oh man, you did this in a year and a half? Or at that point I had done it in 18 months, I think. So he said, like, shoot man, if you're already at this level, then you've got another year and a half before you get a job. And I looking back on it just this past week when I got my new gig, I was like, oh my god, John Park was right. Dude's freaking clairvoyant. But another thing that I had asked him I was really concerned about was remote work, like you. Because my wife and I, we bought a house in order to live cheaper. We bought a real cheap fixer-upper. We've been working on it. The mortgage is way lower than any rent in the area, and we don't want to move. And he said, oh yeah, by the time you get into the industry and when you're really starting to flourish, I've seen it myself, John was saying. I've seen it myself. A lot of work is increasingly going remote, and studios are reaching out across the planet to someone who can do the work that they want. And thankfully, our opportunities are only increasing in the entertainment industry, so that it's really exciting to go looking forward. I'll just finish off going through my ArtWad stuff. These are like me trying out designing figures, painting figures in Frank Frazetta's style, dinos, studying dinosaurs. Rotating, so a lot of ArtWad assignments, which are super beneficial, are rotation exercises. It's study a thing, then draw that thing from different angles without looking at anything else. And that's gonna test you so hard when you're trying to really get better at drawing. And for instance, I did that here. So this is a walkthrough of like an ArtWad assignment. You'll start off doing a bunch of perspective basic manipulation exercises using primitives, getting some gesture in there, trying to squeeze life into basic shapes. But then you take that and you start going in with then you start doing studies, and all of these are from imagination. These drawing dynamic poses, setting a box up, rotating it, drawing it from a different lens type. And then on top of that, he's like, okay, sure, you did that. Now go and apply anatomy from imagination as well. Or look at anatomy reference and apply it to what you've just done. Bye, Andrew. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate the questions and everything. I did here I rotated a figure in the same pose from imagination and did it all from scratch. It turned out surprisingly well. Like that's when it was kind of like a personal achievement. I was like, yes, I did it. Because once I just plugged it all into an animation, my spatial awareness was actually like surprisingly strong. And I didn't use any onion skinning. I just did it one layer after the next.
That's a good trick to use the animation to see if you got it right.
Yes, yeah. The whole I was like, okay, I know that I want to do a turnaround, so I'm just gonna try it. And then I put them all into different layers and told Procreate to animate it like this. And when it did, I was like, oh my god, that turned out way better than I expected. So here I would do one pose study and then rotate it to different angles. One pose study, rotate to different angles. And apply anatomy on top. I started looking at other artists that I enjoyed. And so like I've been looking at TB Choi a lot lately, and I've been trying to take her shape language and apply it to figures. Anatomy study on a pose from imagination. And this was all just one ArtWad assignment. So like they're pretty hardcore. Studying TB Choi. These are direct studies from her. Oop, iPad crashed again. For people on YouTube, my camera might disappear after a while because the battery's getting low. I'll let you know if it happens. I did this 3D thing where I started over a 3D model. I've been trying to learn some 3D in my spare time, so let's see if I can find the original gray box. Okay, super dark. I did not know how to light it, but I knew that I could go in myself and paint this up really well anyway. But the point was that I made this in 3D, and then found the camera angle and said, okay, let's go over this and let's make it cool. So I did that, and I painted it up. I bashed in some figures. And I was pretty happy.
But you had the whole furniture in 3D too?
I did not model it, so I do not want to be a 3D modeler. That's not my goal. But there are lots of plugins like Sketchfab and Mixamo and other different sites that will give you assets that you can then use. So you see how like this doesn't fit in at all, and this is a different style, and it's like I just grabbed props that I could look up and place them next to each other.
Okay, but it's all 3D. Yeah.
It's all 3D, yeah. So I constructed the scene, and I did model like the hand railing and that, and I made these baseboards. Like I can mess with squares, and that is just enough that I can then go in and I can paint it and I can work with it, and that's enough to give me like a really solid base. So
yeah, this is a solid base. You have everything you need.
And I started with this as my sketch, so.
It was really cool to see you do this. That was really cool.
Yeah, thanks guys. I blocked off my work because you can't see that. I've been posting Creatuanuary. I don't know how you pronounce that, but we're getting real close to the end, you guys. Lately, I do want to talk about stuff that has excited me. For a long time, I have been really blocked by not being able to draw designs because I just don't know where to go, right? Like I see a blank canvas, I get overwhelmed by all of my inspiration and my references, and like I tried taking advanced design at Brainstorm, and I had all these story ideas and these plans going, but I did not resonate with the teaching at all, and I didn't know where to go. I felt the design process was too restrictive. So I just flailed out and I stopped after week 2. I was like, I'm not doing this. I don't agree with the way it's being taught, and like it doesn't vibe with me. And
Who'd you take it with?
Mark Castanon.
Okay.
Yes. Other people love him. It didn't work for me. That's just a personal thing. The architecture class, I burnt out halfway through once he started asking us to design more. And so like fundamentally, I've had like a block of just being able to put something on a page without having to go through 2 days of reference gathering just to feel like I've prepared myself. And it's a hole that I get myself into, or that I used to at least, where I spend all this time building up expectations of what my project needs to be without allowing myself to just explore a canvas and just see what I can come up with 2 references, And so I've been exploring that, and I'm going to pull them up for you guys right now because I've shared them once before, but I love telling this to people now. So WUFA, ArtStation, Learning. Let's see. Yeah, this one. Matthias has got to leave. He's letting us know on YouTube. Bye, buddy. Thanks for being around. So I'm dropping this on Discord. I've only made it through the first lesson, which is just abstract shapes. And I'll show you what I've implemented with it. And, I need to go back to ArtStation Learning and go to my saved stuff. How do I find that? ArtStation Learning. If you see where the saved section is, I need that, but I don't know how to find it. Popular.
I'm so happy the class is free.
Oh, I know.
I actually don't know. Yeah, dude. When they made it free full time, I was like so de-stressed about it.
Ooh, everyone has to watch
I plan
this.
to do this with this stuff, actually, Alex.
Yeah?
Yeah, I want to do it after I finish up. I'm doing Ahmed's work right now, and I'm doing Ari Pants.
Oh, I know.
So I want to do
That's
that
great.
after.
Cool.
But like, dude, so many people have recommended it to me that I really want to do it before I take WB2 with Kenny.
Recommended. Sorry, I might have missed something. Recommended what?
Oh, like just Wooda's work on our station.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
his whole learning thing. It's supposed to be like amazing.
It's actually insane. I hadn't looked at it yet until just a couple weeks ago, but he's got a lot on here, and it is all just complete gold. Like this practical composition series takes you through, no joke, 8 different ways of coming up with ideas.
Dude, I've heard so many times that's actually insane.
Yeah, and like it's gonna take me a while just to work through this, but I'm so excited to, because it starts off with abstraction, and he goes through a bunch of big demos where he's just throwing brush strokes on a canvas, editing it, destroying it, rotating and warping it, and then seeing if you can find an image. And it's like, oh my god, that makes sense. Then
He's actually crazy, dude. That guy is so good.
it's too bad he quit. But,
Yeah, right?
yeah. The dynamic shapes and the color thumbnails are really cool. Then he goes to abstraction from photos, which he has a bunch of like high quality photos that he just destroys into finding composition. Then he goes over specifically how to find concrete answers from abstract nonsense. After that, he does it with more defined light and shadow, using figures for composition, and then finally trying it out in 3D. So it's heavy duty. I also linked this Studio Quest, which is Adam Hawk just made an entire small course. I guess it's an hour long. But Jordan Tuffin talks in it, some other Adam Hawk pros talk in it. And Alice is saying, he quit. Yeah, Stefan Wufa was interesting when he quit. I don't even know if you could...
He quit in the most badass way possible, I'm not gonna lie to you.
It was an event.
That was actually crazy.
Does anyone know if you could find his statement?
Oh yeah, I haven't. I think I have it bookmarked actually. Let me look through.
Oh, link that so I can pull it up, because it's so interesting. Basically, he did like an email blast and an ArtStation blog and his Instagram, saying that he no longer is willing to participate in the capitalist machine. And he said, I'm no longer going to make ideas for other people and for things that are killing the environment through the production process. I quit. I'm going to wipe my entire internet presence, and I'm going to switch careers and go into environment preservation, was the basic gist I got of it.
Wow.
It's fucking awesome, dude. I sent it in general voice, Alex.
Cool. I just pulled it up. Can you see it? Okay.
Yep.
And like his artwork is insane. It's incredibly varied, incredibly detailed. The man is so skilled, and he's broken it up into a really long website post, but it originally was just a long email blast, and it read like this angry stream of consciousness, and and it was just talking about like these really obtuse things, like nobody understands the geothermonuclear threat of the climate stuff, and like talking with these really obtuse physics terms, and like clearly he's read up on this, but he's also talking way above your head, and it kind of sounds a little elitist, and and it originally rubbed me the wrong way because I had never heard of this guy, but everybody's talking about him and everyone's saying like how amazing of a move this is, and it's like, I don't know, man, it's kind of just a dick move. But it's now I've finally started to look into his resources, and thanks for linking this, because the beginning does have his asset dump. So he's got a full torrent download, a web download of 90 gigabytes of tutorials, brushes, and these tutorials are stuff that are not on ArtStation Learning. It's other stuff. And all of his paintings that he just dropped. So, and then disappeared.
Oh, so he's like giving all that for free, like on the
Yes.
internet.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
See, yeah, he said he refused to be a part of the machine. He was done, never to be seen again, and that was that. Yeah, really interesting. But I'll hop back into what I was getting after. Um, I was looking at Stefan Wufa's lessons plus some other lessons, and some of the benefits of what has been doing has really struck a chord with me in the last month specifically. So I tried his abstractionism with just putting marks on a page, and I can absolutely see it. Like, this looks like, to me, it could be a desert scene, or maybe something was burned to the right, or it's an ocean, and this guy right here is a character. It looks like it could be a Native American, or maybe it's a cowboy, or it could be some sort of sci-fi character. And so like, when you do this and you play around enough, you can see meaning from abstract strokes. And so I've done that with a couple like basic prompts. So I went on to, there was some Facebook group, like, what was it called? Sketch a Day or something. And the prompt was Ancient Mushroom Village. And I was like, okay, so let's try what I just learned. So I know that I wanted something of a mushroom here. I then went in and I grabbed some brushes that kind of make organic strokes. I turned up the brush really large, and I got this. And it's like, okay, I can see where this can go. I can work with this. And I reduced the opacity, and I started drawing over it. And I got this this sketch. I also, the other one that I linked, which was a girl, Zelda Devon is the artist, talking about how she conquers a blank canvas by just putting crap down because she knows that she's good enough to fix it. So that also felt weirdly empowering, and I don't think I had heard those words in that exact order before. And watching her start with a stupid napkin sketch of a poorly drawn frog and then saying like, okay, I can take this frog and I know that I can improve it, move a limb here, add something there, I can expand via canvas and the ideas, and she ended up with a nice piece. I was like, wow, that makes sense. So I went in with that in mind, knowing that I could draw crap stuff, but over time I could refine it. And so I did. I took that original sketch, and then I went in and I started detailing things out. And I spent a couple hours on this, but coming up with, this would be that blue sky painting that I was talking about with you guys earlier with Kenny. This is the answer. It's when you need to come up with ideas and you just don't know how you're going to visualize something you've never seen before, start from abstractionism so you can see something in it. It can give you ideas. For instance, I started here. The prompt was superhero aftermath. And so I knew, okay, I've got this window brush that looks like city building windows. And I put that down. I threw a bunch of other strokes down. It looked like a city street. It looked like it was a 3-point perspective looking down. I was like, oh, cool, I can work with that. And so I did. So I started drawing, realized making a city would be way too much work in drawing, so I started photo bashing some. And that came out in like 2 hours. And it's not, it doesn't hit my quality bar, but it was an exercise, and I really liked where it went.
Yeah, but still it works. I really want to practice that.
Yeah, I got really excited about that idea. Then, what else did I want to talk about? That's nothing. We've already talked about all this stuff. Oh, CC's still on YouTube saying that's the French attitude, talking about Wufa. Yeah, that is very French.
Oh, he's French?
Yeah. Totally makes sense. Well, that's everything, guys. That's everything of note worth talking about.
Thank you so much. That was really great.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun to finally do this. I tried doing this on my own 6 months ago and realized that none of it recorded, and I talked for 2 hours alone.
Really?
Yeah, that's what made me stop uploading to YouTube. there's a big gap period of 6 months where I don't make a YouTube video, and it was after that where it's like, that sucked. I'm never doing it again. I quit.
Oh man, dude.
But we got it done. We figured it out. So, thanks,
Yeah,
guys, for
that
hanging out.
was super interesting. I got in here like 10:30ish for my time.
Hmm.
So I want to go back and watch like the start of it for the VOD.
Okay,
And
sure.
I'm excited to see it, dude. I'm not gonna lie. It's hype.
Well, that's cool. I'm excited that you're excited to hear me talk. So,
Yeah.
oh, there goes my camera. It just died. I'm gonna pull that off the stream. So, again, I guess that's a good cutting off point too, since the camera's gone. So, thanks for hanging out, guys. I'm gonna go make some lunch and go work. So, talk to you all later.
All right.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
later, Alex. Peace out.
Bye bye.
All right. Later.
And bye, everybody on the stream. Thanks so much for hanging out and making this fun. It was really great to respond to questions and just talk. So, had a great time. Talk to you all later.